I like to give a warm welcome to everybody. Gather around, gather around. I've been trying to do this video for years now. Years now. I apologize. Let me say ahead of time that I am in my car because I'm having a very busy day and I keep putting this video off, and I feel like if I keep putting it off, it's never going to get done. So, welcome everybody. My name is the infamous Kiki. I am a former Jehovah's Witness. I joined the Jehovah's Witnesses when I was 13 years old. I left the organization when I was approximately about around 23. I have a whole playlist of going into details about my story. I was not born into the Jehovah's Witnesses. I chose to become a Jehovah's Witnesses. Um, there was some watchtower and awakes that were left at the laundromat. I picked them up. I started reading them. I wrote in. I had no idea it was Jehovah's Witnesses, and the rest is history. And then I had some sisters show up at my house, and we started a Bible study. I live in Texas, and then I started studying. I was baptized, and I left. I wasn't disfellowshipped. I left. So that's just an overview. Um, I've done videos in my playlist. I have a funny video about my encounter as a teenager with the circuit overseer. Now, it's really not that funny, but it's kind of funny. So if you would like to take a look at that video, I forgot the title of it, but it has "Good Afternoon GSP." But it has an encounter with a circuit overseer. And if you don't know, Jehovah's Witnesses are very they have a hierarchy. It's kind of like a corporation. We have a hierarchy, but a lot of churches do. So a circuit overseer is actually somebody that's like over 20 congregations, and each congregation has elders that are elected or chosen or selected. And so each congregation, depending on how big it is, it may be 5 or 6 elders, it may be more. So that's kind of how the hierarchy works. And then also let me warn y'all in this video. This is a trigger alert. I'm going to keep the people's names anonymous, but if you do a little digging around, it's not that hard because a lot of this was actually on the news. There are articles, there are affidavits, there's things that you can read online. But again, I might leave the link to the affidavit, but I don't know. But this is a trigger alert, so if you are sensitive regarding any type of abuse, CSA, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't mean to trigger none of y'all. I don't mean to hurt none of y'all. I know some of y'all have been really, really hurt by this organization. And so this is just a warning. Save yourself. Maybe you need to come back, step away. I won't get into graphic details. I will skip over that. I never go into graphic details when it comes to anybody hurting an animal or a child. Like, you won't hear that. I'll skip over that. But I will be reading court documents. I will be telling things that are going on that are in an adult nature. So I please advise that that if you have people around you that you listen to this, listen to this video with that in mind. Or we're going to be talking about grown folk stuff. So this is grown folks talk. I've been out of the organization for a long time. Like I said, yeah, trigger warning for sure. I left the organization, like I said, when I was 23. I'm almost 50 now. So I've been out of the organization for a very long time. I still keep up with the organization on Reddit. I still keep up with the organization as to what's going on. Like I said, I got a whole playlist of videos, but this is just, and I know most of y'all are going to watch this on the rewatch. My last video got over 1,500 views and comments because y'all Jehovah's Witnesses, y'all come long and y'all come strong. Like, y'all are mighty out there. Yeah, the exjw community always comes out for my videos. And like I said, what I'm going to talk about is the congregation that I originally started out in, my OG congregation. I won't say where this is at in Texas. All I can say, it's in Texas. Because I'm trying to keep, things on the down low. So, I do have to say this. And so before we begin, let me give you a little bit of background. I introduced this video, like I do all my XJW videos, about how I became a Jehovah's Witness. Oh, GSP says one of my good friends was a Jehovah's Witness in high school. I learned a lot. My uncle's a JW too. Oh, girl. Whew. I don't have any family members or friends of the JW. I was not born into this. I chose this life. At 13, we had moved from Michigan to Texas. I found the watchtower and awakes, which I learned that they don't even print out the watchtower and awakes. Y'all can clarify this for me. Most active Jehovah's Witnesses ignore so much stuff they do. Um, and GSP says she's only following Christ, but active Jehovah's Witnesses, this happened in my old congregation in the 90s. I had no idea that this happened until 2 years ago. I found out by accident. There was somebody that posted a question wanting more information about a congregation, and they said my old congregation's name. That I read it on a Reddit site, on the XJW Reddit site. Someone's like, I'm looking for information about blah 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 congregation in the 90s. And I said, and I paused, and I'm like, and so I sent this person a private message. I said, why? And they were like, don't you know that there was a lawsuit and an elder's in prison? Like, I almost fell out my bed. I said, no, in the 90s? They're like, yeah. I joined in the 90s. Like, so I was like so I started asking this person all this information, and they were giving me links to articles, and there was, like I said, there's a whole news, there's newspaper articles, there's videos that was on the news, like the TV, it was on the TV. And so, yeah. And yeah, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, and everything. So just giving you some background. So this is the early 90s, okay? When the organization was different, very different. A lot of you old timers know that the organization now today is virtually unrecognizable. I don't recognize it. It was very different back then than it is now. We didn't have so much of the shunning. It was very tight-lipped. You can get away with a lot back then because we didn't have social media. Jane Spitfire, hello, says Jehovah's ignored the CSA happened in the Kingdom Halls and sued on its fact. Business status is published company, not a religion. Shunning supposedly stop it, but will not, despite being against human rights. It is. Shunning is, I firmly believe it's horrible practice. And when I was a Jehovah's Witness, it was not a big thing. It was not, they started doing this shunning stuff like after the 90s, like in the early 2000s, they really started to push because they know that people were leaving and people were still talking to their relatives back then. I know quite a few. So back in the 90s, somebody on Reddit was asking information about my OG congregation. Now, I still have fond memories of my OG congregation. I was never abused. I had never experienced anything untoward. However, I do have to give a big props up to my grandmother who is in heaven. When I came to my grandmother and told her I wanted to study the Bible, my grandmother was heavily in the church. And my grandmother was like, well, who, what, when, where? My grandmother was confused why her 13-year-old granddaughter, wanted to study the Bible. And who am I studying the Bible with? And these strangers are coming to the house. So my grandmother started studying the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses. And I found out later that my grandmother told me, I wasn't even into none of it. She didn't believe anything that Jehovah's Witnesses were telling me. The only reason my grandmother went to the Kingdom Hall and went to conventions and studied is because she was trying to protect her granddaughter. That was the only reason. And I didn't find this out until I was an adult. And I had my own children, and I understand now. So thank God that my grandmother, who didn't believe in none of this, chose to go to the Kingdom Halls and go to these meetings because she was like, I'll be damned if I'm going to let some strangers come in my house and take my 13-year-old granddaughter to meetings and being around strange people. So my grandmother did what she did to protect me. Here I was when I was younger thinking that she was really into it. My grandmother was like, I don't want any of that bullshit. She told me that. It was a quote. She was trying to protect me. So I thank God for that because now I know that an elder in my congregation is sitting in prison because he's a whole pedo. So we're going to read court documents. Like I said, and Jane, thank you for being here. I think Jehovah's Witnesses let people have beards. Yes, they do. And women can wear pants now. Because a lot of Middle Eastern people tried to come and get into Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, that's what's going on? That's a totally new take on that. I didn't hear that, but thanks for giving me the information because I always be trying to keep my eye open. Yeah, predators are everywhere. But my grandmother was a real one. She was trying to do her best to try to protect me. So we're going to get into it. Let me scroll down a little bit because this is long. And I'm trying not to make this video too long. Okay, around the 90s, there was a congregation, and they had an elder. I won't say his name. He befriended the children of this said congregation and regularly took them on trips and other religious outings. Now, for those of you who are not Jehovah's Witnesses, like Jehovah's Witnesses will trust their kids around anybody in the organization. Like we were taught that we all love Jehovah. We're all God-fearing people. It never dawned on me to I've been out on field service with elders and their daughters and their wives. It never dawned on me that these elders would hurt me, that anybody in the congregation would do anything to me. That was the first from my mind. Like I have never been abused as a kid. I was very naive at 13, so I thank God every day that my grandmother did go to the Kingdom Hall with me, which is what's the word for a Jehovah's Witness church, because I was very naive. I didn't know anything about sex. I didn't know anything at 13. I was an innocent 13. Like I think at 12, 13, I was still kind of playing with Barbie dolls and reading comic books. I was a very sheltered child. So, you know, the idea that an elder would hurt another kid in the 90s, this was unheard of. Everybody, I mean, people trusted their lives with the elders in the congregation, their life with the elders. So it was shocking when I found out all about this stuff going on 4 years ago. Jane says, also Jehovah's Witnesses try to get more immigrants to come to the meetings. They do. I'm in Texas, so I experienced they always try to get, the Hispanic congregations are always full. The Hispanic congregations are the only congregations that will be growing, because all the English language ones, they weren't. But there's a lot of there are a lot of Spanish speaking congregations around here. And Jane also says, and the Jehovah's Witness membership has shrunk a lot, especially in westernized countries. The door-to-door ministry has stopped. I was like, I fell out my chair 5 months ago when I figured that out. Yeah, you only have to give 1 hour per month at a cart. And I didn't know about cart witnessing until a couple of years ago. Because I had to go door to door in the heat in the middle of Texas, y'all. So that's to tell you, we was out there. I've experienced I should do a video about my experiences door to door. I've been chased. I had a guy show up at the door naked one time. Like, it's a lot. And I was only like 15. GSP says, most of the Jehovah's Witnesses I know are Mexican and my uncle best friend. Yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses that I had a friend who did my Bible study. She moved to a Spanish language congregation because she spoke Spanish. But she was a black lady, but she ended up marrying a Spanish brother and everything. So anyway, this elder was at a congregation in Texas, not too far from me. While in this capacity as an elder, this elder groomed members' children while acting in a position of authority and SA'd them. The children he abused is 6 plaintiffs who are all females. They are all listed as Jane Doe. They don't list their name. So I don't know who these women are, but they filed a suit in 2014. So this happened in the 90s. They filed a suit in 2014. So years after they're adults. It says the governing body had reason to know at least by the early 90s that this elder was using his position of authority and trust to manipulate and engage in sexually inappropriate conduct with children, including all of the 6 plaintiffs who were youth members of the congregation. In spite of their knowledge of this elder's conduct with children, the governing body did not report this conduct to the authorities and did not otherwise warn members or the general public of this person's wrongdoings. Instead, it remained silent, allowing this elder to remain in a position of authority over children in their congregation. Okay? So he was at one congregation, not my congregation. He was at one congregation in another city in Texas where he had access to children. Here's where it gets strange. Again, if y'all look at my playlist, I have a video about my encounter with the circuit overseer who showed up naked at a door. Okay, if y'all go watch that video, it was funny when I made it at the time, but when I read this, I almost died. Around 1989, the governing body appointed a circuit overseer in the North Texas region for they named 2 cities. One of the cities is my OG congregation. This circuit overseer, when I was at my OG congregation, the circuit overseer I believe this is the same person. So this circuit overseer referred to as Mr. A. Now they say this because by the time this affidavit came out in 2014, this circuit overseer is no longer living. Because like I said, the circuit overseer that I had an encounter with, he was an elderly man in his late 60s in the 90s. So by the time 2014, this person cannot defend themselves and this person is now passed away because they were in their late 60s in the 90s. So 2014, they've left this person anonymous. Mr. A, whose identity we will remain anonymous, befriended children of these congregations, including Jane Doe number one. And poor Jane Doe number one. And like this elder, the circuit overseer took them on trips and other religious outings on multiple occasions. This circuit overseer took Jane Doe number one to and from religious conventions and outings in this particular Texas city and elsewhere, and returned with them to the congregation to SA them. So is this the same circuit overseer that said he fell asleep and he showed up naked at the door? So is this the same circuit overseer? When I read that, I had to have a drink, because I believe that this is the same circuit overseer that was naked masturbating when me and my friend came to clean, because the circuit overseer had an apartment above the Kingdom Hall, and this circuit overseer knew we were coming to clean, said he didn't know, and he showed up at the door naked. And he was okay. So yeah, it was sick. It was sick. And then, like I said, I was 16 years old. I'd never seen a man naked. I'd never seen no man do anything sexual. I was very, I was a Jehovah's Witness. I was 16. Me and my friend, she was about 17. We were shocked. And then the same circuit overseer sat there and gave us a lecture about not coveting our brother's nakedness, and gave us a lecture about Noah and Noah's daughters, and how we were in the wrong, and how we couldn't say anything because, the elders may think that we did something wrong. So the whole weekend, I was feeling guilty and praying fervently on my knees to Jehovah to forgive me for coveting this man's nakedness, like I did something wrong. Like I did something nasty. Yeah, that's how I was made to feel for years. And then years later, somebody else told me, when I was like 20, another sister told me the same thing had happened to her. But she actually came and told some of her friends about it, because she was so disturbed by it. And I'm like, is this circuit overseer, blah, blah, blah? She's like, yeah. I'm like, we were literally guilted into silence. And we couldn't, of course, even if we did go to the elders would have turned it around on us any damn way. So either way, we would have been made to feel like we were in the wrong somehow, because, as a woman in the organization, you wrong. Jane says, my cousin was Jehovah's Witness. The elder touched her boobs in service and was a pioneer. Her dad and a Jehovah's Witness went and told him better never touch his daughter again. Yeah, and just think about me, who I didn't have anybody. Like my grandmother, she was going to the meetings. I never told my grandmother what had happened, because again, I was made to feel like there was something wrong with me. Like years later, I'm like, wait a minute, this old nasty old man, like, he made us feel like we had sinned some way. We had committed, pornea? Like we were looking at pornography by looking at him, his old wrinkled up twig and berries. Like, GSP says, prey on children without parents. Yeah. Take them on a fun trip alone if parents are involved, actively and physically present them, are a lot safer. And Jehovah's Witnesses will hand over their kids. They'll be like, sure, they'll be excited that an elder and circuit overseer is showing attention to them. It's considered a big honor. In a lot of churches, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, I had to say a lot of churches are like that. Oh my God, you get to go with the circuit overseer, and oh my God, like you'll watch a lot of these videos about these cults, and that's a whole thing, that brother so-and-so is taking interest in your child, whether that child be male or female, because the men, they get fiddled with too. So this circuit overseer, I mean, I'm not trying to laugh. So in spite of the knowledge, so let's go back. The governing body knew about this circuit overseer's behavior. In spite of their knowledge surrounding this circuit overseer, the governing body did not report the circuit overseer's conduct to the authorities, and did not otherwise warn the members about this circuit overseer. Surprise, surprise. Y'all shocked yet? No, we're not shocked, because this is what happens. At times, the watchtower prohibited the victims from warning others or speaking their experiences to anyone under penalty of discipline or retaliatory action. These victims were not permitted to report their experiences to outside authorities or the persons within the organization, aside from the elders and the overseers. Now, how you gonna report it to the elders and the overseers when the elder and the overseer are the one abusing you? How that work? So, despite secular laws and duties regarding reporting child abuse, there are laws. They still were not allowed to. So instead, as with this elder, the plaintiffs had to remain silent. The circuit overseer remained in a position of authority, so he could repeatedly abuse and molest members of the congregations. And circuit overseers have a circuit of 20 congregations. And I believe that this circuit overseer is the same circuit overseer because it's the same area in the same congregation. So these people were suing Watchtower for negligence, for aiding and abetting and not going the norms of reporting the child abuse to the authorities. Failing to provide victims and family with information, concealing from the plaintiffs and their families that they had information that the elder and the circuit overseer and other leaders were acting inappropriate with and abusing children. So not just this circuit overseer and this elder. Apparently, there were other elders in my old congregation and other congregations that were acting inappropriately with children. And some of these elders were deceased by the time 2014. So they said that the Watchtower defendants claimed that the Watchtower were negligent in hiring, retaining, and supervising these perpetrators into positions of authority to engage in forbidden acts with children. So that's shocking. Let's scroll down a little bit. Also, another thing that they've changed recently is that whenever there's some kind of disciplinary action, before the children would just go in there with the elders on a judicial meeting by themselves without their parents present. And to me, that always bothered me. That you would let a minor go in there on a judicial meeting, which means that they're trying to, that the person is doing something they shouldn't be doing, okay, and got caught. That the parents wouldn't be in there with them. And that's crazy to me. You know, that's crazy. Like, why wouldn't you have, you as a minor, you should have your parents in there. I don't care whether it's religious, whether it's legal. Why would you have a judicial meeting and then your parents are not allowed to be in there? But they recently just changed that. But back in the 90s, yes. So imagine being abused and then the person who is abusing you is sitting across the effing table from you, looking at you, and then you have to describe the abuse. That was another thing. I had no idea that you would have to tell in detail about the abuse. And then there was a 2-witness rule that if 2 people didn't witness it, then they wouldn't believe you. What? Who's gonna sit around and abuse somebody and be like, hey, you over here and you over here, can you come witness this? So unless it was a situation where you had a witness, these poor victims were just railroaded from the beginning. And imagine these victims telling their parents what happened. And imagine the conundrum that their parents were in. Because, you know, if an elder or a circuit overseer is abusing you, if both of these people are abusing you, who you going to run to? And your parents, what are they going to do? Because Jehovah's Witnesses were told that they have to handle this internally because you're bringing reproach upon Jehovah. Right. Okay. GSP says she found a pedo at church in a Christian church. I told the elder and they got rid of him, but told me to stay quiet. Yes, there's an epidemic of silence in these churches. It doesn't matter if it's Jehovah's Witness, it's Pentecostal, it's Catholic. Jane says in some states of the U.S., religious leaders like popes can hear bad sins, but each state has a different rule on religious hearing. By the time sin, sex, or murder, you know, Jehovah's Witness Watchtower are a business, not a religion. They are. People have said that over and over again, that they're a business, not a religion. The way they run things is like a business. They have lawyers and PR people and all kinds of stuff. So, you know, I'm scrolling down, and what else can we read? You know, so they were suing for fraud, negligence, liability, harm. So they had a civil suit, not a legal suit, because the legal statute had expired for them to do anything like legally as in prosecution. They couldn't prosecute this person anymore. But they were suing Watchtower Bible Tract Society. They were suing the person listed here. However, the elder in question here, I went back and looked. This person, when you look up his name, plain as day, this person has a history of child sex abuse. It's plain as day. Plain as day. He's on the offender radar. So he's a registered sex offender. So by the time he became, these charges go back quite a while. And so by the time he was appointed as an elder, because Jehovah's Witnesses don't do any background checks on these people, he shouldn't have been an elder in the first place. He shouldn't even been allowed to be in the organization, especially in a position of authority as a registered sex offender. But this is what happens when you don't do background checks. James says, I hear Australia closed all the kingdom halls and building an amusement park. Me giggle. Australia Jehovah's when they had big time child. Yes, they did. They had big time. They had many cases. Jehovah's will build an amusement park and do meetings online. They're going to have to do that in America too. You know, I think that they have been closing more kingdom halls more and more to save money, because the real estate is worth a lot. I mean, you got to think some of these kingdom halls were built in the middle of nowhere. And so my old kingdom hall was built in the middle of nowhere. And around that area now where that kingdom hall is, it's prime real estate. Like the city was a little bitty city, and now this city is like a big suburban city where the property values have gone up, because it's the area where my old kingdom hall is. A lot of the rich people live now. Like these houses have sprang up around them, so they sell the kingdom halls for money, because you know they got lawsuits. They had a Norway thing. Like Jehovah's Witnesses spent a lot of money on these lawsuits, so they like, look, we need to get these people. They started combining the congregations, and then they started selling off the kingdom halls to get money. And then they started doing everything on Zoom meetings. I said before that I think Jehovah's Witnesses are going more towards televangelism and less towards, like, they'll still have the annual meetings, they will still have the conventions, but I really feel that Jehovah's Witnesses are moving towards more of a online or televangelism kind of thing. Which I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. I think it's weird. Jane says she thinks they'll close eventually, have conventions once a year, and stay online for the meeting. Like, yes, I agree. Most Jehovah's Witnesses members are over 68. Yeah, a lot of the members are old. Like last time somebody did like a video about the Kingdom Hall, I was like, is this an old folks convention? Like, it was a bunch of old people. It was buried. The Kingdom Hall was halfway empty. When I used to go to the Kingdom Hall was full. Was full in the 90s. Now you go now and like the Kingdom Halls will hold like 100 people, and there was barely like 40 people in there, and most of the people were older. GSP says she live out in the middle of nowhere, and they have a locked gate. You can't get on my property. So Jehovah's says, did they mail you letters now? Yeah, my sister-in-law got a letter from them. Yeah, the birthday thing I think will happen soon. You know, Jehovah's, yeah, I heard they used to celebrate Christmas years ago, but they stopped. A lot of changes happened back in the 40s and 50s with Jehovah's Witnesses when Judge Rutherford took over. The history of the Jehovah's Witnesses, if you don't know anything about the history, it's very fascinating. I've watched video after video, read book after book about the history of this religion once I left. Yeah, they would celebrate birthdays. Yeah, because there's really no Bible base for them not to celebrate birthdays. Like, it's really not. But a lot of things Jehovah's Witnesses do is not Bible based. A lot of it is just culture. It's just things that Judge Rutherford instilled back in the 50s, and that's just kind of, and they just kept on to that because it established control and hierarchy. But yeah, this elder, that he was a registered sex offender. So and so, like I said, I'm scrolling. So, and then they also claim conspiracy. So they can say, complain that Jehovah's Witnesses as a religion conspired to keep this quiet. So they filed against this particular elder who I won't name, and then against the watchtower. It says that this elder made contact with these plaintiffs, assaulting them multiple times, and he knew that such contact would be offensive or illegal, and he told them to keep silent. He inflicted emotional distress on the plaintiffs. I'm just reading. And then they're getting into what really happened. So there was a girl. She's under the age of 13. She was forced to perform mouth things on 3 men. 3 men. She was also forced to sexually abuse another girl. I mean, this is just this. Like I said, I won't read a lot of these because it's. She was forced to solicit other prepubescent boys to come to the organization who were later abused. I mean, she was forced to watch 12 other boys be abused by elders. She was slapped. She was punched. She was physically threatened. Being threatened with death to her family if she did not perform these things. She was being threatened to be disfellowshipped from the organization. She witnessed other children and adults being physically abused. This person has nightmares, fear of men, difficult relationship with women, post-traumatic stress disorder. Like these things, I mean, she was groped, she was fondled. She was forced, here's another one, being forced to work long hours for the elders over several months without pay. So apparently she was in these elders' homes, cleaning their homes at 14 years old. This is another plaintiff. So they were not only physically abusing her body, but they were using her to babysit their kids, to clean their homes, to clean their cars. This went on for months. So these girls were used and abused, has pretty much virtually treated as sex slaves, and apparently as real slaves. Like they was babysitting and cleaning the kingdom halls and cleaning these elders' homes. I don't know. Yeah, okay. They said one of the plaintiffs has sustained a loss of earning capacity and a loss of earning capacity in the future. She said that she has tons of mental anguish, PTSD. One plaintiff said that she was 7 to 9 years old when this started. She was forced to grab this man's genitalia, forced to watch pornography. I just don't know what to say. One girl said it started when she was 4 years old. She was exposed to sex acts at 4 years old. Again, I don't know who these Jane Does are. Some of these might be relatives of these elders. So some of them might be their children or relatives. I don't know. It doesn't say in what capacity. This one girl said that she was 5 years old. She was forced to kiss adult males. She was forced by this elder to watch others being physically abused. This is just disgusting. I don't. And then the idea that they used the older girl, 14 years old, to entice other young men into the organization. So I wonder, was she used to entice, like, did they have like a pedo ring? I wonder. It doesn't really say, but the things they're describing here just sounds like it's more than one elder. Sounds like it's multiple people abusing these girls. And it sounds like that maybe that they were put out there as bait to bring men in the organization. And if that's true, that's very sinister. Like that's blowing my mind right now. To think that other people may have studied the Bible and being brought into the organization, knowing that they were offered children, girls. Yeah, come join this organization, just study the Bible and da 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 da. And then, maybe the elder was like talking to other pedos and convincing them to come into the organization in order to have access to children. Jane says Google Bloodlines of the Illuminati by F. Spreads Guide started Jehovah's Witness, part of the original designer Illuminati group, making money with different agencies. Yeah, I've heard about that book. I haven't read it, but I heard about it. So I don't know. This is diabolical. I mean, the fact that they may have been actively recruiting sex abusers with these girls, enticing them. So that just really makes you wonder who is really in the organization. And again, all of this was going on while I was 13 years old in this organization. All this was going on in the 90s, and I had no idea this was going on. And I don't know these Jane Does. I don't know them. I mean, it doesn't say their names. So I don't know. I may have known some of these girls. I may have, I mean, I just that just breaks my heart to think that could have been some young teenagers that I went to school with, that maybe it was a few of them. They were, because we didn't have a lot of young, like, girls my age. There was a lot of younger kids, when I was in the 90s. And so by the time I went to this Kingdom Hall, I don't, I'm thinking going, racking my brain hard going, could have been this person, could have been that person. Like, I don't really remember a lot of the younger ones, but there wasn't many that was my age. But I just think about the younger ones because it seemed like they were younger than me. So I just wonder, like, I would think, like, I just thought everybody was happy. I had no idea, that maybe some of the people in the congregation, there were several girls that I met. One girl that was Hispanic, and I won't say her name, but she was always quiet, and I would always try to befriend her. And she was, and I'm very shy, y'all. I'm very, very shy. So it was hard for me to make friends anyway. But there was this one girl that was really, 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 really quiet. And then people would, some of the other kids would whisper about her, saying that she listened to a lot of worldly music. If you don't know what worldly means she would listen to like a lot of rap music and music that had explicit lyrics that we're not supposed to listen to. And she would watch movies that we're not supposed to listen to. So I don't know. I just think, like, was she one of them? And then I think to myself, maybe I should have asked more questions. But again, I was 13 years old when I started. And so I stayed in this particular congregation they're talking about for 2 years. So I was there from 13 to 15, and then we moved. And so being a Jehovah's Witness, you can't just go to any Kingdom Hall. If you move to a different city, even though it's not very far away, every congregation has a territory. So a lot of people are upset because if people move for job opportunities or they got another house, like, a lot of times people would check to see whether, what territory it is. And to be honest with you, a lot of times that I think when my grandmother moved, I think she moved on purpose to try to get me away from the Jehovah's Witnesses. Because we moved from one city to another, and I moved schools. And I'm thinking my grandmother could have easily found an apartment not too far from where, but I think my grandmother did her best on the cool to try to get me away from the organization. Because, like I said, I found out years later that my grandmother did not trust the organization, did not like the organization, and just went to meetings and studied the Bible because she wanted to keep an eye on me. So I think now that when we moved, I think that was a tactic by my grandmother to try to get me away. And maybe my grandmother picked up on something that we know, because this elder, they have a picture of him and everything online, and I know who this elder is. And I didn't have any run-in with this elder, like, personally or anything. I didn't know his family because he had a family. But I don't know, maybe my grandmother just looked around the Kingdom Hall and was like, because, with age comes wisdom. I'm a parent. I damn well know that as a parent who's been around, that I can pick up on certain things. I can go some places and be like, I'm not leaving my daughter here. Like, and just period. You don't want to leave your kid anywhere. That's just what a good parent or grandparent would do. But maybe my grandmother picked up on something while we were at the Kingdom Hall. Like, and maybe she was like, nah, I need to go to these meetings with her. I don't know. Jane says in her old Jehovah's Witness Hall, one elder molested his young kids and wife told it. They did nothing to him. She divorced him. And, yep, she got disfellowship. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, the Mormons got into the Mormons have had a lot of sketchy, skivvy things happen. I know all about the Mormons too. I'm like into cults. Like ever since I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I went on like a whole cult thing. But for the longest time, y'all, I thought Jehovah's Witnesses were on the up and up. It wasn't until 2020 when the pandemic hit and I was sitting around at home and I had nothing to do. I got laid off from my job and I sat there and I saw an Amazon special about Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was like, man, da, da, da. I was like, it can't be that bad. Like, I thought maybe somebody was being, abused by their parent or something like that. I had no idea about the two witness rule. I had no idea about the rampant CSA abuse and cases. I had no idea none of this. And therefore, I went on YouTube and started watching exjw videos and their stories, and I fell out because I thought I used to say all the time, I don't like Christianity, but Jehovah's Witnesses is the only Christian religion I like. I used to say it over and over again. I said it wasn't for me. It wasn't what I want to do, but I said, no, Jehovah's Witnesses are cool. Like, they good people, da-da-da-da. When I found out what was really going on in these congregations, baby, I was like, people be like, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses are cold. I would defend them. I would defend Jehovah's Witnesses tooth and nail because I didn't experience none of this. I had a good experience. Once I found out all this was going on, it changed my life, y'all. It changed my life again. Like, I think I've been away from it from so long, but I still thought that Jehovah's Witnesses were a good religion full of good people. I had no idea what was going on. Like, I was like, oh boy, I need to go educate myself. And I did. And I've been on a journey ever since. And the more I find out, the more I just be shocked. I'll be like, what? And I know people who I've talked to, XJWs, off the internet, who I've had conversations with and learning about the things that has happened to them and how things have been covered up and how damaged they've been. I know somebody personally who actually took their own life a couple of years ago. That was an XJW that I've talked to and had DM'd, and this person, he took his own life. So, he couldn't handle it because he was shunned so bad. He lost his whole family to this because he didn't want to be in an organization. And it was just so sad. And I didn't know the shunning, and I didn't know about none of this, y'all. Like, I had no idea. Here I was defending them for years. They're not a cult. Oh, they're... Jay said the Mormon lady this happened to, she wrote a book about 6 years ago. Yeah, I subscribe to a cult channel where they talk about all different, like, Church of God and just different religions I've never even heard of. And them, like, a lot of intermarrying and incest. And I learned more about incest 2 weeks ago than I think I ever wanted to learn about that was going on in these Mormon churches and in these little splinter groups. There's so many different sects of religions out there that I have a whole theory that I'll do another video about cults and things that I found out. But I really think that these people have a stranglehold on our economy, on our politics. I really do believe that there is something very sinister. There's a sinister underbelly in this country, and it has a lot to do with sex and religion and misogyny and control. And I think a lot of these, and then you learn about these Christian sects are training children, and they have camps, and they have private schools that, like, it's to the point where I'm just like, okay, and it's stuff that people don't know, that they got whole Christian campuses out here. Well, I say Christian with a loose term, baby, because ain't nothing Christian about these people. There's nothing godly about these people at all. These people want money. These people want control, and they're very moneyed. They have their hands in politics and business all over this country and even the world. And so I hate to divulge into conspiracy theories, but there's always something like really weird around sex. It's always something about sex. It's always something about sexual expression that they have a problem with. And then these cult leaders, they always end up having, always end up dealing with younger women and younger girls. And it's the same pattern from religion to religion to religion. Religion and sex go hand in hand, y'all. And it's always a subjugation of women. It's always the young girls and the women that get it. Like, we always become the brunt of abuse. Like, it's always about the women. It's always about the women. GSP said they call themselves MAPS, minor attracted people. Oh yeah, I've heard about that. There's a whole website in NAMBLA. Yeah. But I think like in these religions, there is an underbelly of that. I went down this rabbit hole after I read this. I went down this rabbit hole, about about different cults when I read this. And for 2 years, I've been going down this rabbit hole. And there's certain things that I've learned about cults and sexuality and sex. And it's not just little girls, it's little boys too. It is like there is like these type of religions seem to attract people. There's no reason in hell. Let me tell you, I've said this before in other videos. There's no reason in hell why any religion or watchtower would fight so fervently not to kick these people out of their religion. It makes no sense to me. Why you would want to keep these people in your organization, much less in a position of authority. There is no reason why, if you get caught fiddling around with children, you should even be entertained to be an elder or you should be disfellowshipped, gone, stripped of your title and gone. Why is it that we got to have a 2-witness rule? But they got rid of that. Well, we can't say anything to the authorities. We got to call the district office, and then it got to go up the chain. Why? Why is there so much effort concerted and concentrated in these religious organizations to hush up and cover pedophilia? Why is that? Why is that? And this is worldwide. This is not just Jehovah's Witnesses. This is organizations worldwide, religious ones. Why? Why would you not want to actively get rid of these people? Why would you want to keep these people in your organization? It makes no sense. Keeping these people in the organization, all it has done for Watchtower is to cause them hell and a headache. They have gotten sued. They have had to pay damages. Their reputation has been ruined. People's lives have been ruined. People have left the organization. So you've done all of this and spent millions of dollars defending, when you easily could have just come down and had an edict and be like, guess what? We got new light. New light. Just new light that shit. Well, Jehovah's talked to us and the governing body be like, we're going to have a zero tolerance for this bullshit. And people who are abused, we're going to have in-house counseling. We're going to train people to be counselors. I've said this before. Watchtower, if you're watching, feel free to take my idea. Give sisters something to do. Other religions have marriage counseling. They have life counseling. They have people who are ordained ministers in their church. And they also send them off and pay for them to go get, depending on your state and your country, a certificate in counseling. Get it. You don't have to be a licensed therapist. You don't have to go that far. But in some areas, you can literally spend 2 years in college to get an associate's degree in psychology and be a counselor. It doesn't take much. So why wouldn't Watchtower pay, especially the sisters, give them something to do? Pay for their education or subsidize their education and be like, you know what? We got a lot of people that need a lot of healing. There's other people besides, abuse. There are a lot of people that just need counseling, period. Ruby says good idea. See, I'm full of good ideas for religion. Why would you not give the sisters something to do? Because, again, the patriarchy and the misogyny in these organizations is crazy. Give the sisters something to do. Who would better spearhead healing than the women of the Jehovah's Witness organization? There are some good-ass women in this organization. There are some intelligent women, young women coming out of high school. Give them something to do. Pay them a stipend. Look, if you're paying millions of dollars for damn lawsuits, why can't they pay salaries for people? And then they'll just do it part-time. Like, it's not going to have to be a full-time thing. But offer counseling service by trained people in the congregation, sisters, who Jehovah's Witnesses can go to in confidentiality if they're having problems, if they've been CSA'd before, if they're a victim of CSA. And the organization will prove to people that they're actually trying to help and not cover up. We're not trying to hurt people. We're not trying to harm people, see? And have an issue and drop the hammer and be like, we have a zero tolerance policy for anybody who abuses kids, whether it be physical abuse, sexual abuse, anything. Zero tolerance. And then put a PR thing out about it. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses would lose their mind. There'd be videos popping up everywhere. Bam, 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 bam. We would lose our mind. We'd be like, Watchtower actually acts like they give a shit? Oh my God. Why would an organization not want to protect themselves PR-wise? And the biggest issue, legally. Why would you devote millions of dollars to protect pedophiles? Why? That's the question that it keeps me up at night sometimes. Because logically, financially, spiritually, it makes no goddamn sense. Because the organization's in on it. You said it, not me, GSP. Girl, you said it, not me. My mind has gone over and over this. I mean, I'm a logical person. Watchtower runs itself like a corporation. What corporation would let somebody be there harassing people? I done worked some of the biggest corporations. I worked HR in the largest food company in the world. Okay, I'm not gonna say the name. If anytime somebody actually they was sexually harassing, we're bringing them into arbitration. We're not gonna be like, well, we're just gonna give you a little tap on the wrist. No, you getting fired. Who said it? You harassing who? A bunch of women, a bunch of people come in. This person's harassed. We're bringing you in before arbitration, and we're gonna find a way to get rid of you eventually, because you are in danger to our brand, and you're in danger for lawsuits. And the last thing I did to the corporation I work for is get sued about some sexual harassment of some manager. I don't care if we had a manager that got accused of sexual harassment real high up, baby. He was gone in a week. We don't care. Oh, you the divisional manager or whatever. HR brought him in. We sat him down. We like, okay, here's your severance package. Have a damn good day. Because you're not going to bring down the whole industry with lawsuits and shenanigans just because you want to grope some women's asses in the office. No. One monkey don't make no show. We're not running an entire organization over one person. We don't care how high. We don't care if the CEO, CFO. No, they got to go. Period. So why this organization would fall on the sword of religion to protect abusers is curious to me. It's a bit weird to me. And I try not to fall into conspiracy, but hello, Ruby. I fall into I try not to fall into conspiracy, but I'm just like, You need to come to one of Ruby, I would love to come to one of your lives, girl. What's up? I would love to come to one of your lives. You got a channel, Ruby? I'm very entertaining and interesting. I'm glad y'all think so. But yeah, I just don't understand. Like I said last year, I had a whole bunch of suggestions for Watchtower. Okay, Ruby, that's good. Is your channel your name? Because my channel is always linked to my name. Some people get on here and they have like extra accounts. They have like stealth accounts. They come on here and I'll be like, who is that? And they be like, oh, it's me. Oh, Ruby said she left 5 years ago. Girl. You know, had I known this was going on in the 90s, I would have been left. I would have never joined Jehovah's Witnesses. I would have been left. So maybe they're afraid of that. But if you prove that you're doing something about it, like I said, GSP, like I said, y'all, I don't want to fall into conspiracy. But every time my mind just keeps going back to why, like the shunning. Why would you keep shunning? Why would you? They come out now, they're trying to do things to where it's not so easy for people to get this fellowship, but you can't do that with child sex abuse. Why, y'all? Why? So you can try to change. You done lost your tax exempt status in Norway. So you're trying to slowly but surely change the shunning, right? You're trying to slowly but surely change to where people don't get this fellowship so easily. But then you've had multiple cases over the decades where you've paid out millions of dollars of settlements for CSA. And then you got and all you've done is gotten rid of the 2-witness rule? Man, please, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. That's all you've done. We got rid of the 2-witness rule. And then this is something that they just pass it down to the elders. I've gone through the whole videos reading the elders book. I dropped my jaw dropped when somebody did a whole video. I forgot who it was, about what was in the elders book. First of all, I didn't even know the elders even had a book. But yes, if you have not look up Jehovah's Witness elder guidelines or elder book, I didn't know there was an elder book. I sat there and watched video after video about people going through what's in the elders book. And scared me. And I'm like, this is not a good way to conduct business and protect your corporation or your religion or the people in it, period. None of this, logically, a lot of the shit in the Elder Book didn't make any sense. Because it was not the way to protect your organization. It was not good. I was going, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It says money and power. Yes, money and power. But if you want more money and more power, keeping pedos in your organization is not the way to go. Because they're losing money. So why would you keep losing money? Again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to fall into conspiracy, and it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses. There are a lot of other organizations that follow the same pattern. And a lot of organizations, I can see a line from point A to point B. And I'll be like, oh, because the person who created it was a pedo. Oh, okay, I get it. But Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't believe that the people who created it were pedos. Like, I don't believe that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't believe that personally. But again, anything's possible. Yes, the only reason I spoke out now was because my Jehovah's Witness uncle had to take a plea deal and register as a sex offender. But he got reinstated and they all talked to him, but they shunned me. See, none of that makes any sense to me. Why would you not try to protect the young people in your organization? Because they're the future of the organization. Yeah, Ruby, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And anybody else that this happened to, I'm so sorry. Like I said, the things that I read what happened in 2014, I've looked everywhere and asked other people, other legal people, to look to see if we found any update as to whether there was any kind of resolution or anything. The only thing they could think of is the reason why it's not on the books is because Watchtower has settled with these 6 people. And then when they settle, they have to sign NDAs. So I might be wrong. I may or may not be wrong, but I think Watchtower had to settle with these 6 people, and they've signed NDAs, and they don't put that online. So that's the only thing I could say that what may have happened after this case had gone to fruition in 2016. I think they settled. And that's the reason why you can't find any information after like 2015, 2016. So they may have settled. If they got their money and they settled, hey, my hat's off to them. At least they got some out of it. I mean, go get some help, go get some therapy. My hats are off to them. But I'm sorry for anybody that this has happened to. And like I said, the logic defies me. The logic, I get tripped up on this bullshit. And I've gone off on other videos as to why we new light every damn thing else. Just new lighted. And we got a 0 tolerance. No more lawsuits. Nothing. Kick them out the organization. We're not paying any more lawsuits for you. You're gone. We're not reinstating. No, we're not reinstating you. You're a registered sex offender. You're not welcome here. You're not. You can watch the meetings on Zoom. How about that? Since they're not going out in service no way, and they're watching meetings on Zooms and doing conventions on Zooms, how about pedophile Joe? How about you can set your pedo ass at home and read your New World Translation of the scriptures, and you can go to jw.org and you can worship from afar. You can still be a member. We can still count you as a number, but we don't want you at the meetings. You can talk to people on a Zoom call, but you ain't got to be there. That's my suggestion. You ain't got to be there. We just holler at you from afar. See, that's what motivated Ruby to be a loud voice about CSA issues. Revoke the Kingdom Hall invitation. They're like, we're going to give you a link. Here's a link to our Skype. We're going to, Skype. Here's the link, sir. You can worship at home. Right. You can worship at home. They do it to ones that are sick and infirmed and can't make it to the Kingdom Hall. So I feel like if you're a registered sex offender, you've been accused of certain things, then you can worship at the house. You can get your Kingdom Melodies book out and you can sing, make the truth your own over and over again. Do they even sing Kingdom Melodies anymore? Y'all want me to sing? Make the truth your own. Da, 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 da. That was my song back in the day. I'm not gonna lie. Make the truth your own was my song, was my Kingdom Melody song back in the day. That was my favorite one. They put that on there. I was like, ooh, this is my jam. It was. Make the truth your own was the jam, y'all. What was the other one? That's the only song I really remember because that's the one I like. Listen, obey, and be blessed. Yes. Like they can listen, obey, and be blessed. Pedophile at the house. Get your Kingdom Melodies out. Matter of fact, make it into a mixtape. I know somebody did a Kingdom Melodies mixtape and he got in trouble. He got talked to the brothers because of it. He put like a bass line behind it, the songs. I was like, hey, because them Kingdom Melodies be dry, y'all. They be dry. If y'all don't know what a Kingdom Melody is, it's a like a hymn book for Jehovah's Witnesses. Because before the meetings, they would sing a Kingdom Melody. Like I said, I don't know if they do this anymore. They got whole music videos now and anime. Like Jehovah's Witnesses have changed so much now. Now they got like songs that like really sound like light rock R&B songs, which is a thing that Jehovah's Witnesses never said they would ever do. Like I remember being a witness and they just slammed televangelists. They were like, it's horrible, it's terrible. And oh my God, they're on TV and they got all this. And then now Jehovah's Witnesses pretty much turned into Christendom. They pretty much turned into all these other religions they used to go in about. Ruby says, my cousin told me they tent TVs on the wall so people can read off the screen, no need for books. Yes, they've really dumbed down the literature and dumbed down the religion so much now. So much they've dumbed it down. Like the stuff that I read lately, like somebody was like, I was like, was this written for a third grader? Like what? I mean, they've dumbed down it so much that you really don't have to read the Bible ever. Like when I was a Jehovah's Witness, reading the Bible was a thing. They would have real Bible study. Like they would have like a plan, like, okay, we're going to read this and this. And then they had where you had study plans where you could read the Bible on your own. Now I've been told that they don't even do that no more. Like you don't even have to read the Bible. They don't even bring up the Bible a lot like they used to. People have noticed that it's less and less about the Bible and more about the literature. And they just keep regurgitating the same literature over and over again. And the same things that I learned in the 90s is the same shit I'm learning now. Same stuff that they talk about now. I was like, word for word. Like I listened to convention and I'm like, I remember hearing the same talk. I'm like, is it just me or are they recycling the talks? Like, is it just me, y'all? Am I the only person that realized Jehovah's Witnesses are recycling talks at the conventions and in the Kingdom Halls? And they just changed maybe the title because they did some talk and I listened to it and I'm like, I've heard this before. I'm like, wait, y'all, they recycling talks. Like I don't think they even originally write. They don't even write the talks anymore. That's what I heard. I heard that they just recycling stuff. So I don't know. This religion has changed, but I just give Jehovah's Witnesses some suggestions as how to improve the organization and make it better for people. Because there are people who really like the religion and believe that this is the truth. And I'm not knocking them, but I'm not knocking them because everybody has a right to believe whatever they want to believe. And if you want to stay in this organization, you can stay. If you want to leave, you want to leave. I just believe people should have the freedom to do either way. I don't believe people should be shunned, and I do not believe that people should be abused, and the abuser should have more rights than the person who's the victim. And I understand that in our society and in societies around the world, that's how it is, period, for women. That especially women, that we get abused, we get attacked, we don't get believed. That we just seem like in every society, it just seems like we're always a second class citizen in these organizations and in society, period. And it's sickening to know that no matter where you go around the world as a woman, you're always going to be looked. You're either going to be a Madonna or a whore or something in between. So somebody's either going to objectify you or somebody's going to devalue you, your intelligence, your humanity, your autonomy as a person, your body autonomy. That no matter what society you go in, no matter how technologically advanced we may become in the westernized world, that your rights are not held in the same standard as a man's rights. That your decision making and your life is not as valuable as somebody else. That you're not going to be believed a lot of times because you're a woman. Or in some societies, it's just accepted that women are just there to be taken advantage of. Or that there's an underbelly in society where men talk about that we deserve to just be like animals. That we should just be used as sex objects. And that bitch, just shut up and clean and cook my food and do my laundry. And I just need you to shut up and just get down here on your knees and just do what I tell you to do. Like we're animals, like we're not people. Because it's a curious thing. We're the givers of life. Like we bring life into the world. You would think because we're givers of life, and you would think because people are conservative that whatever gives the life should be on a pedestal, that we should be on top, that we should be put on some type of pedestal, like this can create life and give birth. And yes, we need the male DNA to do it, but you would think that because we are givers of life, because we've been known as healers throughout our time, that somehow we would be on a high pedestal of, not of worship, but of like something sacred, something unique, something sacred, something to be protected, that women have to be protected because they bring life, and they're the nurturers. They bring life. If you want traditional values and want us to be mothers and stay at home, then I need to be treated like that. I need to be protected. I need to be seen as a life giver. I need to be seen as a partner. I need to be seen as being vulnerable. I can't fight a man off, really. I mean, I'm tall, y'all. They can catch these hands. But at the end of the day, we are biologically not as strong as men are. So you would think that we would have more protection, just like children should have more protection. A child can't fight off a grown person. A child doesn't have the ability to be on the same level as an adult. So you would think that people would be more worried about protecting children because they're the future. So when people talk about how fucked up the future is, really parents got to look at themselves, because it's like, how are you treating your children? Because they gonna take over one day. We get old and we die, and then the only thing you have left is your children and your grandkids. So I feel that children and women are sacred. I feel that children and women should be protected at all costs, because anytime a society loses its women and its children, whether they lose them emotionally, mentally, I mean, look what's happening all over the world about these kids in China and Southeast Asia, that they don't want to work, that they're quietly quitting, that they're checking out of society. And these societies are like, what are we going to do? Young people don't want to work. They don't want to get married. They don't want to have babies. Our birth rates are dropping. Oh my God, we have way too many open positions and not enough workers, because the kids are like, I ain't doing that. I don't want to do that. I just, they have a whole generations of people who are just checked out, who stay in their homes all day, who don't interact with society and are contributing nothing to society. So if we want to live in a world like that, with young people just like, I ain't doing nothing, what kind of world is that? But that's because people haven't invested in young people. They just took it for granted that they're just going to do the same things that I did. No, we live in a different world where young people want to forge their own path. And so if you don't listen to that, you're going to have a society where birth rates are going to drop. Most of the people in Japan are old. They old people, because the birth rates are down. Young people are not getting married. They're not having children. They're not getting married. They're not having children here. Y'all, newsflash, third world countries, they popping out babies like crazy. Westernized countries are not. Our birth rates are down. Our population is getting older and older because we're living longer, but also because people don't see marriage and having babies as being an advantage. So you have to make traditional values and marriage be advantageous. So I feel like it should be an incentive to help people be parents, help people, financially it's hard to be a parent. Psychologically it's hard. We need some counseling. We need some money. We need incentives in order for people to be able to see being married and having children as being advantaged. The society has changed. You can't expect people to sit there and carry on like generations a long time ago, when technology has outstripped all of that. That's why you homeschool your kids, Ruby? I wish I could, but I don't have the patience. I did during the pandemic, but I thought about my kids would have loved it. I'm not for traditional values. I'm a hardcore feminist. But I believe, I shouldn't say hardcore feminist. I believe that traditional values should be selected to whoever that wants them. I'm not a tradition. I am an atheist. I'm not a traditional values person, but I feel like if people want traditional values, that's their choice. But I strongly believe that countries and society should make it advantageous. I think that married people should have tax breaks more than just filing joint on your tax return. I believe that if you're married and you go buy a house, you should get discounts and credits. I believe that if you have children, you should be required to take parental counseling. I believe that if you have children, you should have even more tax breaks. I believe that when you go and buy property and you're married and you have children, you should get discounts over single people. It is easier to be single than to have children. I have 2 kids. My husband died, so I have 2 kids. So I understand where, but I mean, I'm not a traditional values person, but I believe that if people want traditional values to come back, then people got to work at it a little bit more. Just saying, yeah, this will be good. That don't work no more. I think that there should be advantages to having babies and being married. I promise you, if people would make marriage great again, if people would have a PR campaign about being married and the advantages, but just saying that, well, you're in love and you're going to be together, okay, you're married, because there are married people out here struggling, y'all. Both people are working and they're struggling. And so it's hard to have children when you and your husband are working and you're still struggling financially. So make it advantage to have children. Make it financially sustainable to have kids, because that's what's happening in Korea. That's what's happening in Japan. Their societies are so expensive to live in. Like, people are living in tiny 1-bedroom apartments and paying a lot because their society, they're this long route, but for economically, it's not economically viable for a lot of people in Japan to have children because it is expensive to live there. Their jobs don't pay a lot. And so a lot of young people just checking out. They're like, I'm not gonna get married, I'm not gonna have no kids, I'm just gonna live with my parents, and this is how it's gonna go. Or they want to live in a 1-room hostel somewhere and they want to work a menial job. You can't survive as a society when the young people have been so disillusioned that they just kind of check out. So I think that people shouldn't be checking out. And now we're getting way off topic, y'all. We're getting we done got way off topic. But it goes hand in hand with change in Watchtower. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, that change is inevitable. That in order for even Watchtower to survive as an organization, they have to understand that the young people are the key to them surviving another 100 years. In 100 years, if Watchtower don't pay attention, they're not going to be around anymore. They're not going to be there because people are going to check out the process. The young people are leaving in droves and they're like, we out of here. So if they don't rein that in and give young people a safe space to be in and a place to grow and give them a little breathing room, because being in Watchtower is very suffocating. So you have to be able to change with the times. You can't keep doing shit that you've been doing since the 40s. That's not going to work in 2024. So I feel like the Watchtower needs to grow and change, and they are making changes. The beards and then wearing pants. I support that. But, and I understand you can't just throw all the changes at once because people are going to go into a culture shock, But it's a mess. But in order for this organization to survive, and I know some of y'all are watching this video going to hell with this organization. I don't want it to survive, Kiki. Burn it down. I get it. Yeah, some of y'all are like, I want it all to crumble. I want it all to burn. But for me, my suggestion to Jehovah's Witnesses is start giving your young people something to do. I said about the education thing in my last video, that how Jehovah's Witnesses don't support a higher education. I said this in my last video. I said, what the hell? You're gonna have so now you have a bunch of broke young people who are working menial jobs, and then they wonder why donations are down. If you don't create a certain overclass of young people who are educated, who are getting those good jobs and being able to donate more, your organization financially is going to fail. These people in these third world countries where the population for Jehovah's Witnesses are increasing, they cannot monetarily, these people are poor. So they can't monetarily keep up where the westernized countries can. But in the westernized countries, because they shit on higher education, because they don't want you to go to university. They don't want you to learn science. They don't want you to be around other people. They don't want none of that. They want you to be dumb and working a job at McDonald's or a window washer, which is insane. That's not going to bring any money in. It's not going to bring the money in. So they got to find some way to bring this money in. And third world countries like Africa and Latin America is not it. So it's not sustainable long run. They have to be able to attract new people to this religion from westernized countries and retain the ones that are in there. But right now, from what I've been told, the young people have tuned out, and it was like, to hell with this. I don't care about people learning 100. You don't learn about 100 genders and sexualities in higher education. You can go get a certificate in a specialized field that has nothing to do with nothing. And again, don't come here with this gender stuff, because I'm very pro LGBTQA. But higher education is not that. The only person I've been to higher education is not that. I have friends that are in education right now. You can go get a certificate in a specialty field, whether it be construction. You can learn a trade. Jehovah's Witnesses don't even want people to learn a trade. This is nothing about genders. This is nothing about none of that. If you are not free to spend a year learning any type of trade, whether it be accounting, construction, CPA, your organization will not survive. If you can't even get a certificate being a Jehovah's Witness. How insane is that? That you can't go and get a certificate. You're not going to make any money in our economy, any real money, unless you have some type of higher education under your belt. You don't have to go to a 4-year college. You don't have to have a doctorate. You don't have to have none of that. You don't even have to have an associate's. Again, I have friends who tried to go and get their license as a forklift driver. A license. Because for a lot of positions, depending on your state, you have to be licensed to do certain things in construction. But the more you're licensed, the more money you'll make. They wouldn't even let him go do that. So this ain't got nothing to do with genders. This ain't got nothing to do with that. Unless you're studying sciences or sociology or psychology, maybe so. But I don't know many Jehovah's Witnesses are doing that. The point is to learn a trade. So you will have certification underneath your name. So you will have a certificate. So when you go get that job, you can ask for higher pay because I'm licensed, I'm trained. You don't have to be a nurse or a doctor. Again, there's plenty of jobs out here in this country. I don't know how to do in other countries where, that's where it goes. Exactly. There's plenty of places you can go. You cannot make good money without license. You're not going to do it. You're just not. So, and the organization will fail if they don't get more westernized members to pay. And the organization will fail if they don't change their rules. It is what it is. You have to change with the times. You don't have to sacrifice your beliefs or your religion, but you have to give people some wiggle room in order to the 144,000, they didn't change that 10 times. So if they can change doctrination, you don't even have to preach anymore. Then they can change CSA, they can change the shunning, they can change the higher education rules. Yeah, if everybody was right, Sherry, if everybody was a Jehovah's Witness, how would the world survive without trade industry doctors and lawyers? Right. How would the world survive without you having a doctor? Y'all talking about genders in college, so what doctor you're going to go to? What doctor you're going to go to? That's not in college for 4 to 6 years. I'm at my doctor's right now. You think I'm going to walk in my doctor and be like, well, since you've been to college for 4 years and you learned about genders, I don't want to see you, so we going to die? No. We need people who are trained. They go to college for a reason. And I'm in Texas, there's all types of people who are in the medical field. Lawyers, doctors, construction. Somebody got to build these buildings. You have uncertified people not building buildings? You can't survive without certified people. You just can't. Like I said, anybody saying that, don't go to your doctor then. Go to your doctor, ask your doctor what his or her politics is before you go to the doctor. That makes no sense whatsoever. You have to have teachers, you have to have doctors, you have to have lawyers, you have to have the tech people who are taking your blood. Those are tech jobs. Like, do people not understand how the medical industry works? Like the radiologist, that's a position. The people who take your blood, the people who give you the anesthesia. For God's sakes, y'all, if y'all want to know something, I'm gonna give y'all a tip right now. Go out and be an anesthesiologist because they make insanely amounts of money. Anesthesiologists, like if I would have known how much anesthesiologists make, I would have been an anesthesiologist. I wouldn't have been a fucking accountant. Like, I'm an accountant. I would have been an anesthesiologist. They making insane amounts of money. That insane amounts of money. Insane. So, that's where the money is at. And that takes learning in a specialty. But you ain't got to be a surgeon. You don't have to be in school for 6, 7, 8 years. And knowledge is power. I tell people knowledge is power. I don't go around in my life and just be like, I just want to learn about this. And I want to learn about all kinds of people. I live in Texas. I live in a conservative state. I'm not a conservative person. I am not offended. I don't get my panties in a bunch about other people's thoughts or other people's beliefs. People have a right to believe whatever they want to believe, but it don't mean that I believe it. I am surrounded by a religious family. They're not Jehovah's Witnesses. I come from a very Pentecostal religious family, like families that started churches, they're in choirs. Do I go to church? Hell no. Am I atheist? Hell no. Can I sit in the church? Yeah. It doesn't offend me. It doesn't hurt me. Do I know people that I'm going to pray for you and they read the Bible? I have friends that are very religious. It doesn't offend me. It doesn't hurt me. If they choose to be religion, they understand that I'm an atheist. It's no conflict. If they believe in God, I respect everybody's belief and to believe whatever the hell they want to believe. It's called freedom. I respect a person's beliefs. It doesn't have to match my beliefs. We don't have to be best friends, but I do have friends that are religious. I live in Texas. I live in the Bible Belt. So the people that I run into and meet inadvertently are religious. I'm a black woman. Most black people are religious. I'm the oddball out because I'm not. And I understand that. But I don't be like, oh my God, your religion is stupid. Hey, if you believe in God, you believe in Christ, even if you're a Jehovah's Witness, I still treat you with respect and be like, I don't agree with that. That ain't for me. But hey, if that's what you believe, go right ahead. It doesn't offend me one bit for people to believe in other things because I understand that my knowledge and my truth and my life experiences will never be on the line and threatened. And also as a human being, as I get to know other human beings, I've changed my mind about and stances about certain things. And I understand that I'm on a journey as a person, that I am on a journey, that my beliefs are never set in stone. If anybody's telling you they believe in absolutes, I'm running absolutely the hell up out of there because that's cult shit. If somebody's telling you I absolutely believe this and I absolutely believe that, you'll never hear me on my channel saying I absolutely believe in too much of anything. I do absolutely believe that children and animals and old people shouldn't be harmed. I absolutely believe in respecting humanity and respecting people. But all the rest of that shit, the beliefs that I've had, they have changed throughout the years with more knowledge that I have gained, more people that I've met, experiences that I've had or not had with certain things. So yes, that informs a person's opinion, but I'm always growing and changing. I'm not afraid of nobody's beliefs or nothing. And I ain't scared because intellectually speaking, I'm pretty smart. So intellectually speaking, I can hold my own. So I'm not scared of people's beliefs. I can read about something, learn about something and be like, that's interesting. I can read the Bible all day, but it don't mean I'm going to believe in the Bible. I've read the Quran many times. I've read the Sanskrit. I've read the Quran. I've read the Torah. I've read a lot. I've been to a Buddhist church. I've been to a mosque. I've been to many different religions. And it's still, I was like, that's nice. That's beautiful. Still an atheist. Like, it still don't change how I feel. And so I'm not offended by what other people believe because I'm held firm in my own beliefs. And I don't require groupthink in order for me to be firm in my beliefs. I don't require anybody to agree with me in order for me to feel like I have self-esteem about myself and my beliefs. I don't need people to believe the same shit that I believe. I don't need to surround myself with people who just think like me in order to make me feel good. I like to be challenged. And that's the problem with people. People don't like challenge. And that's one reason why I left religion. That's the reason why I left Jehovah's Witnesses. Besides the stupid culture and rules and the level of control they want on your life, I left because it was a religion of absolutes. It's like, this is how it is. And then when you question it, disfellowship, you walk in there and be like, I don't really think I feel like this is their disfellowship. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, I take it all back. I believe it now. They'll try to get rid of you. Yeah, take care of yourself is vital. Yes. Yeah, you have to take care of yourself. Period. You have to learn to take care of yourself and learn through other people. I'm always up for a challenge, always. And I've had debates with people over different things, but that doesn't offend me or that doesn't hurt me. I'm not offended by other people. As somebody who's been around gay people, Muslims, like I've heard, I had to come in there and correct people all the time on my channel. I'll be like, wait a minute. because I've hung around these communities. So I'm like, no, that's not true. Because people will read things about other communities that's not theirs, and they think that that's true. And I'm like, have you actually talked to somebody from that community? Because I know people say things about, let me give you an example, about black people that have nothing to do with nothing, but they don't know any black people. Like, I'm like, have you ever had a conversation with a black person? No. Well, I heard and I read, there's a lot of narratives online on social media. I said, go talk to a real black person if you want to know, really know. And the same vice versa go for black people. They like, well, white people did it. Do you know any white people? My best friend's white. So we constantly have to check people, because I'm like, you're talking about something about a community that you don't know anything about, that you've never talked to. I want to talk to people. That's why I have a YouTube channel, because I want to talk to people. When people talk about exjws and they're apostates, I've heard all kinds of crazy things about exjws. No, I want to get on Reddit and I want to talk to real exjws. I don't want to hear from other people about exjws being horrible people, because I've heard that before. And so I want to talk to real XJWs. I don't want somebody to tell me what XJWs think. I'm an XJW. So I'm like, okay, I know that's not true. So I want to talk to other XJWs to get, like, of their views on certain things. And we're all different. So, I tell people, don't let anybody paint you in a damn corner, and pigeonhole other people or yourself, because I don't want nobody pigeonhole me being a black woman and saying that all black women do this and all black people do that. Wait a minute, slow down. That may or may not apply to me. People like, all black people are religious. I'm not. Oh, you're atheist? Oh my God. Yeah, there are black atheists. We're out here. We may not be all over social media, but we're here. We do exist. Or I had somebody tell me that they didn't know Jehovah's Witnesses, that they were black Jehovah's Witnesses. I almost fell out of my car. Someone's like, black people aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm like, excuse me? I went to a congregation that was predominantly black. One of the congregations I went to in Dallas was predominantly black. So I had somebody tell me that. I was like, there's Africans who are Jehovah's Witnesses all over Africa. I'm like, what do you, because they don't know. And I had y'all talking about Catholicism. I heard people talking about, well, there ain't no Mexican Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, all the Jehovah's Witnesses watching this, we all know Jehovah's Witnesses is long and strong in Latin America. I had somebody tell me that all Mexicans are Catholics and there are no Mexican Jehovah's Witnesses. We have whole bilingual congregations, like, all over Texas. Like, what do you, like, the things that people say and believe because they don't see it on TV, because they don't see it on social media, because you see on TV, the Mexicans, they're Catholics and they're clutching the rosaries. I'm like, there's a huge population of Jehovah's Witnesses that are Hispanic. Huge in Latin America, huge in Spain. I'm like, Spain. I'm like, because that's something that they don't see on TV. They don't see it on TV and social media, so it must not be true. I said Jehovah's Witnesses come in all colors and all flavors. Jehovah's Witnesses are worldwide. There are Asian Jehovah's Witnesses. There are Jehovah's Witnesses in Korea. In South Korea, there's congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses. I had people tell me all kinds of weird shit. Even when I was Jehovah's Witness, that was the narrative back then. Black people ain't Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm like, what? Or black people ain't born into it. I know somebody that's like a third or fourth generation Jehovah's Witness that's black. I know plenty of people. Most people in Jehovah's Witnesses are born into it. So, but people will swear up and down there's no African American Jehovah's Witnesses. There's not that many. I'm like, there's a lot of us. This is weird. I was like, just because they not on social media, like, going, woo, it doesn't mean we don't exist. I'm like, it happens. Like, they just consider Jehovah's Witnesses some white organization. I'm like, no, it's a multiracial, multicultural organization for sure. I just, Jane said she left and she went to college. Glad I did. I left too, Jane, and I went to college. I spent 3 years in college after I left the Witnesses. And I'm so glad that I do. I wouldn't have the job that I have now if I didn't go to college. I wouldn't be working from home, working remotely, talking to you fine people while I'm outside my doctor's office when I really should be working. Here's my computer. But I can do kind of whatever you want to do when you're the manager. When you're a supervisor and you work remote, you can kind of do whatever you want to do, but you need education to get there. So, it's kind of weird, how that works. When you're the boss, you can kind of do whatever I can kind of, like, it's Friday. I'm like, it's Friday. I'll just talk to y'all. You know, Jehovah's Witnesses run real deep with Hispanics. Real deep. Real deep. It do. It do. Like I said, I've been to Spanish language congregations quite a few back in the day. Tiffany said, yeah, she was in the Navy. She's in the Navy for 8 years. She have 2 degrees, studying for her LSATs in law school. Tiffany is the winner chicken dinner. Tiffany. Oh, I wanted to be a lawyer when I was younger, y'all. You know, well, now we really getting off topic. Now we're just talking. We're just talking, ladies. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. I know I get off on a tangent and we didn't got off of CSA, but you know, now I'm just talking about lifestyle things with Jehovah's Witnesses. So make sure y'all thumbs up the video. Make sure y'all like the video. Make sure y'all comments. But I'm finna get off here in a minute because again, I'm supposed to go to my doctor and pick up some meds and I'm like overdue. You know. Like, you know, yeah, Jane, I feel like Jane is smart, and I feel like Jane, you were too good for that organization. I feel like we were too good for that organization anyway. You know, Jehovah's Witness told her to give up being a cop. She did not. I know Jehovah's Witness told a lot of people to give up a lot of things. I know people that have given up scholarships. Like y'all hear about NFL, people who had NFL, like college scholarships. I know somebody whose son had a full ride 4-year degree, full ride scholarship, and Jehovah's Witnesses made him give it up. It was one of the saddest things I've ever experienced. Like, this young man was talented. This young man was intelligent. And this young man, I don't know where he is today. I mean, if you're watching this video, Brother Roberts, if you're out there, because he would probably be in his 40s now. I don't know if he gave up his dreams or not, y'all. But this young man was so I could do a whole video about people that I've known that have given up scholarship. I know one person that was so depressed that allegedly in the congregation, this is the rumor, that he tried to take his own life because he felt like his whole future was going, and he wasn't down with the witnesses. I mean, his parents were witnesses and there was that expectation, but he had a full ride, y'all. And this guy was so sad that he tried allegedly to take his own life because he felt like, you know, and I remember my another sister telling me that he cried and he begged his parents to go to college. But his parents were like, if you go to college, we're not going to talk to you. We're not going to support you. And who in the hell want to go to college and you're not you can't go to college and not supported by your parents. I mean, you can, but that's tough. He got invited to go to college in another state. Okay. So of course he knew that he needed the support of his parents. So basically your parents are going to abandon you and then you got to go off to college in another state. Who would do that? Who, you know, yeah, like the Amish, like he would have to leave his whole family. Like who, like that's a Sophie's choice. Like who would want to do that? So those Jehovah's Witnesses, they do stupid stuff, you know. I was told, can I go to the gym? Right, Jane, right. It's beyond education. Yep, because men were there. Yeah, I was told, I know a brother. The organization we better adopting secularism and psychology, half the problems would not occur. I agree. True and practical. That's what you said it better than I could ever rambling could. That's basically what I've been saying. Yes, you put it perfectly. The organization would be better adopting secularism and psychology. Half their problems would not have occurred. There wouldn't be the shunning. They tell you not to go to the gym, y'all. Like, I'm serious. I know a brother that was working out 2 and 3 days a week, and he was getting his swallow on. And let's be honest. We all know how men are in this organization. If you've been a Jehovah's Witness, you know how these men are. They are insanely petty and jealous. This brother was a nice looking brother. He was getting, you know, muscular. He was really into fitness. He got pulled over by the elders talking about that he was spending too much time working out, that he was too much wrapped up into his appearance. No, they was mad because the sisters in the congregation was like, was looking at this brother because he was single and in his 20s. These elders, honestly, I felt like they were petty and they were upset because this brother was a good-looking man. And he had attracted the attention of the sisters, especially a lot of the single sisters. And some of them older elders, honey, they want them 20-year-old sisters. So they were feeling like this man was competition. I'm keeping it real today. So they told him he was spending too much time at the gym and it was vanity, and that he needed to focus more on rising up in the organization. And they wouldn't let him be a ministerial servant because of this. He tried to be a ministerial servant. And they were like, no, because you spend too much time at the gym. The fuck? No, the point is, these older elders wanted to marry some of these young girls. Y'all know how it is being a joke. Y'all know how many elders are like in their 40s and 50s, and they be trying to get with these 21, 22-year-old single sisters. And these single sisters were not interested in the old-ass elders. They was interested in this good-looking guy, and he was trying to rise up, and he was a nice guy, did nothing bad, nothing wrong. He was at the meetings and field service all the time, and they thought that they were going to take down this brother a peg or two because they're not going to let him rise up in the organization and be a ministerial servant of an elder. Of course not. You're at the gym too much. Like, what kind of level of insanity is that? You at the gym too much. I mean, yeah, it's not the brother. Thank you. It's not the brother's fault that the other elders didn't want to take care of themselves. No, these older elders saw this brother as a threat because he was young, he was fit, he was trying to rise up in the organization, and these older elders were single and they were looking for wives. And guess what kind of wives they was looking for? The 21 and 22-year-old girls that didn't want to have nothing to do with them because they was all fixated on this brother. That all the women would sit around and look at this brother like, you know, like whoever married this brother was going to catch the prize. He was the prize in the congregation. All the younger sisters was looking at him. And then there was a bunch of older brothers that weren't married. And so he was a threat. Oh, guest so says, going to the Memorial Sunday, I'm not baptized. I was just raised in the truth. Okay. Oh, the Memorial is a Sunday, right, y'all? Ooh. Y'all go to the Memorial. Let me know how it works for y'all. I haven't been to a memorial. I used to thoroughly enjoy the memorials, I do have to say. GSP said they keep them inside the Kingdom Hall, feeding them donuts and French fries. They like, sir, you are too fit to be a joke. And they will do that. They'll do that with the women too. They like, you going to the gym too much. You spending too much time at the gym. What? Oh man, you know. When go take some wine and bread. When in my Kingdom Hall, all they had was like apple juice and bread, and then like you couldn't partake unless you're one of 144,000. Now I do have a story because I did know one of the anointed. I did know a sister that was anointed, but she was gay. I don't know why y'all playing about Jehovah's Witnesses, because y'all damn well goddamn know that there are a whole bunch of gay people in this organization. Y'all know. I knew somebody that was anointed, and may she rest in peace, because she gave me there's a book that I have. I did a short about it. Well, I have a book from 1917, like an old Jehovah's. She gave it to me as a gift. I forgot the name of it, but y'all know about them old Jehovah's Witnesses books, like back that was made in the 1970s. People collect. I have one. It's in pristine condition at my house. This older anointed sister, I'm gonna do a video about it. But she had a lady that was taking care of her, that was her roommate, and she was like in her 60s, and this chick was in her 50s, and supposedly it was her nurse. It wasn't her nurse, and she was at the funeral and everything. It wasn't her nurse, y'all. They were together for like 20 years, and she was one of the anointed. I mean, she was thought, like, to be the anointed, you have to declare yourself, oh, I'm one of the anointed. But she was one of the anointed. She was one of the ladies that I when I was 14, 15 years old, I spent a lot of time with this sister. A lot of time with her, because I'd never met an anointed one. And I was so excited. And she was a friend of the lady that originally started studying the Bible with her. And I met this lady, and she had moved from Florida back to Texas to be close to her children. And she had a companion. That's what we would call her. Oh, she's her nursemaid. She's her companion. And this lady handled everything. She handled the finances. She took care of this lady. She was at the meetings with her. She studied the Bible. She was a baptized sister, and they were lived together for 20 years. And I was like, that's a little suspicious, but okay. And yeah, that friend supposedly was her nurse, but then her friend didn't have no degree in nursing or healthcare or wasn't a CSL, a home CNA, nothing. She was just, and then I was like, okay, so Diane, does she have any kids, never been married? No kids, never been married. The anointed lady, her husband had died like 20, 30 years ago, and she had adult children. But Diane, her companion, she had never been married. She had never had no kids, never been married. I don't know. Like I said, it was the most lovingest, touchingest relationship that I've ever seen up close. And you could tell that there was something going on there. Even at 15, even how naive I was kind of like, I was kind of like, something is going on here. I knew it wasn't a normal like nurse relationship. It was a loving relationship. I mean, the way she treated this so-called anointed sister was better than any husband. I mean, she doted on her. I mean, she doted on her. What was the haircut? Short, real short. She gave off very masculine vibes. And everybody in that damn congregation knew it. They knew Sister Diane gave off all this masculine energy, and she dressed and went outside the Kingdom Hall. She wore pants. She did handyman work around the house, like all of that. She was basically like the husband. And the anointed sister, she had short hair too. And we all kind of knew. We was like even I knew that this, but it's one of the loving relationships. She would do anything. Was it a mullet? I think Diane did have a mullet. And I'm sure she's probably dead by now, but may she rest in peace. But these are two of the nicest women, and they would come over and hang out with my grandmother. So, they would come and kiki and caw with my grandmother. They'd come over and kick it with my grandmother all the time. My grandmother loved them. They would come over there and talk about the Bible and talk about the truth. And my grandmother would ask her, how does it feel to be anointed and how all that do? And when did she know she was anointed? She would tell me all these stories about her life. And she grew up in New York, and she went to Bethel when she was younger, and her husband went to Bethel. And, and she would talk about her husband and her kids were strong. Like both of her kids were elders. And so, and then I think one of them was about to be a circuit overseer. So they were strong in the truth. So this lady was one of the nicest women that taught me a lot. It was one of the sweetest women. May she rest in peace. God bless her. You had two sisters in your apartments that were roommates, girl. I'm telling you, I think we all know some sisters or brothers that were roommates. We all know gay brothers and sisters in the congregation. I knew a brother that was gay, that was an elder, and we all felt he was gay. My mom got disfellowship for smoking cigarettes. Oh, wow. I'm the same way. I'm 52. So when I was younger, my grandmother used to bring me to the field service and do talks on stage and go to the assemblies. Yeah, we used to go to the assemblies with this older sister, and I miss her. I thought about her the other day. I just miss her laugh. She was funny. And sometimes she's a little cheeky, than the other older ones in the congregation, She used to tell me I was 15, and she's like, don't get married. Wait until you get married. She's like, oh, I got married too young. She got married when she was like 17. She's like, but back then, she's like, that's what is expected. But she's like, don't get married. She's telling me, she's like, oh my God, Kiki, you're much too pretty to be getting married younger. Don't think about marrying any of these brothers until you're at least 25. That's what she used to tell me. And she's like, don't tell anybody. I said that. Don't tell the elders. I said I won't. And she would give me a wink. She'd wink at me and be like, I'm just giving you wisdom, young one. She's like, I'm just talking to you sister to sister. She's like, don't do it. Don't get married early. Don't do it. Don't let them pressure you into get married. Like, we would have talks like this all the time. She was one of the sweetest women I've ever met, and very smart and knowledgeable. And then she was ready to go to heaven. She's like, I can't wait till I go to heaven. And she was fully all in the belief system now. Don't get me wrong. But she knew she was one. She would tell me how she figured out she was one of the anointed. And she said she saw it in a vision, by the way, y'all. Like I said, I'm going to do a whole video about this sister. But she told me a whole long story about how she saw it in a vision, that she was anointed. She saw flames in several visions while at a memorial. She said when she was 10 years old, she saw flames at the memorial. And I used to be just wrapped in attention. I'd be like, what? You saw what? Yeah, she said she knew she was anointed from the time she was 10 years old. And she thoroughly believed that she was going to go to heaven and become a warrior with Jesus. And she's like, I can't wait to meet Jesus, and I'll never forget you, and I'll never forget you, Kiki. I said, okay, don't forget me when you're in heaven fighting during Armageddon for Jesus. Like, she was convinced that she was going to be one of the 144,000 warriors in heaven fighting with Jesus during Armageddon. Yeah, yeah. It's a very interesting story. She told me the whole story. She saw visions several times when she was a child. Saw visions. That's how she said for everybody it was different. But for her, she saw visions. To be honest with you, at 15, I totally believed her. Like, I so believed her. I did. I would sit there and be like, what? What? And yeah, she said God spoke to her. She saw visions of flames or fire on top of people's heads. And then she knew she was one. And then they would talk about the anointed. And every time they would talk about it when she was young, she would see flames, and she would go to sleep at night and see visions. And yeah, she talked to me about, she didn't know she was an anointed for years until she was like in her late 20s, early 30s. Then it finally dawned on her to finally come forward and say that she felt like she was one of the anointed. And she was saying that the brothers did not believe her. She had an older brother that was in Bethel, that was pretty high up in Bethel, and he didn't believe her. And then she had another brother that kind of believed her, and her parents didn't really believe her. Like, it was a whole process, you know. It was a whole process as to how she finally got accepted. Like, I thought there was an anointed test. Do y'all know if there's a test to see whether you're in one of the anointed or not? Somebody told me there was a test. Did somebody lie to me and make that shit up? Y'all let me know. Was there an anointed test? Y'all let me know. Because y'all know more than some of y'all been elders, and y'all know better than I do. So y'all tell me, is there an anointed test? Somebody told me there was an anointed test. She said, nope, not getting married to another witness. That's why I'm single now. You're a Pimo. Rakta is a Pimo we've been blessed with. I respect all the Pimos out there. I tell people this all the time. There is no test. You were lied to. Oh my God, somebody told me that there was a way to tell, but I thought they were lying. Yeah, they might pivot back to the Gnostics. Yeah, I wish they would pivot. I wish Jehovah's Witnesses would also pivot back to more Bible knowledge. When I was in there, it was heavily into the Bible. And I feel like if you're going to be Bible-based and you be Bible-based, you get back into the Bible. There was no test. So I don't know. Somebody told me that. They lied to me. But they said that they bring you before the elders, and not a test, but then the elders will question you. Maybe I'm saying test wrong. Maybe you were brought before the elders and a committee, and they would ask you questions. That's what I was told. It may not be true anymore. They may used to do that a long time ago. I don't know. Or it may not be true at all. But I was told that if you say you wanted the anointing, they would bring you before the elders, and then they would drill you with questions. That's what I was told. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. They haven't really said anything about the 144,000 in years. Somebody told me it's been 10 years since they really have kind of gotten away from the 144,000. They said spirit that comes over you, partake of the bread. Then yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Yeah, Brother Russell was more Gnostic, and I hate how they do Brother Russell. They try to push him out the organization. Now they barely even mention Brother Russell anymore. But when I was in the organization, they mentioned Brother Russell a lot, and now they try to like distance themselves from him. Like Judge Rutherford, like the judge was one of the most corrupt and decisive, evil people ever in this organization. And I said what I said. Judge Rutherford was one of the most evilest men in this organization. And he should never been allowed to take over the watchtower like he did. And I understand he brought in reforms and it got more people into religion. But I think the judge did more damage to the organization to this day. The hierarchies and the things that are set up is because of Rutherford during his time. And I think a lot of the thinking and the cultural was set up by Rutherford, and he was a petty, petty man. He was a petty, petty man who cheated on his wife, who had a whole side chick, who had a whole house, a whole palace built because he thought Moses was going to get resurrected and he was going to be resurrected in the house with Moses. Like, Brother Rutherford, I watched a whole docu-series about him. And that was an evil, petty, petty man. He was petty. He was petty. He was a petty, evil man. You definitely have to be baptized. Yeah, to be one of the 144,000. Yeah, Brother Rutherford, yeah. He had the spirit of something, true and practical. I don't know what kind of spirit he had, but he had a spirit of something. But it wasn't no godly spirit. That man was petty. That man was mean and petty, and the shit going on with his wife and the mistress, I didn't know any of this until a couple of years ago. Because they don't tell you about that. That he had a whole house built, this big old nice house built, And yeah, they don't tell you about that. I didn't know Rutherford had a whole house built in like California somewhere, and he had a whole side chick for the longest time and pretty much abandoned his wife, and how domineering he was, and how he didn't want men to wear beards because Brother Russell had beards and he didn't like Brother Russell, and he was like on a rampage. Brother Rutherford was a piece of work, y'all. He was a piece of work, and he set this organization on that to get away from Bible study and get away from biblical teachings onto what he wanted it. He really set it on that path to, we got, yeah, but that's true though. He didn't want men to wear beards because he didn't like Brother Russell. That's the reason why men didn't wear beards, because he said so. This man passed a bunch of edicts that had nothing to do with the Bible, and he got it to running more like a corporation. Like he did that. Yeah, he had a side chick. Yeah, Rutherford's nurse, it was a side chick. He had a very petty spirit. He was petty. They said he was not a nice person. Yeah, he was a narcissist. But the only thing Rutherford did, he fought all them court cases. He kept the Jehovah's Witnesses out of jail. I can say that he was a visionary in a good way and a bad way for his time, but he kept the witnesses out of jail. Like he went to bat for the witnesses. Are you driving? No, I'm not driving. I'm not driving. Y'all, I'm not driving. I'm sitting in my car. I'm not driving though. But yeah, Rutherford, the best thing he did was go to bat for the witnesses. He kept them out of jail. He filed litigation after litigation after litigation to keep the witnesses out of court, out of jail. He did do that. So I can say that he did some good. He put the religion on the path of being more organized and concise, and then with all the publications and the Bible and he did a lot. But no, I'm not driving, y'all. I'm not crazy. I'm not gonna be I'll be like, well, no steering wheel for me. No, I'm not that crazy. I'm not driving, boo. But thank you. Anti-monitor, like X-Men, like the anti-monitor, like from the comic books. I'm a comic book nerd. But yeah, Brother Rutherford, he did that. Like he did his thing with the law. Like he did everything he could. A Tesla, no. I know. I'm parked. I'm not going nowhere. But yeah, so I can say DC, yeah, the anti-monitor. Yeah, DC. Love the villains. I love the villains too. But Rutherford that's did, but all the other stuff he did, just the rules, and then like they said, Rutherford didn't even like music. Like at one time, the witnesses didn't even sing before meetings. Like he didn't like the singing. He didn't like the hymns. He didn't like the singing. He thought the singing was somehow sinful, and he didn't like the singing just because he personally didn't like it. So whatever Rutherford personally didn't like became rules with Jehovah's Witnesses. And again, I had no idea until I watched a whole deep dive about, you can look them up online, but there are whole deep dives about Rutherford and the things that he implemented. And like I said, he did a lot of good, but then he just set this religion on a path for growth, more like a corporation than a religion. Villains do make good heroes. That's true. Villains make real Rutherford. That's true. Yeah, they talked about the year of the world, 1975, the 75 prophecy, how people weren't going to school, how people weren't buying houses back in the 70s. Oh yeah, I used to hear all about that. The sister that was anointed would tell me all about the 1975 thing that the Jehovah's Witnesses got smacked in the face about. They said the world was going to end in 1975. So you had a bunch of people left the organization after 75 because, of course, the world didn't end, and they were very disillusioned with that. Yeah, Rutherford lived in luxury. Well, the depression, yeah, he had this big old house. I had no idea. I'm like, why didn't y'all tell me? I had no idea until a couple of years ago when I watched these videos that he had this big old Shangri-La, this big old house while the depression was going on. I'm like, really? Yeah, that he thought he was going to get resurrected, and he built these properties because he thought like Noah and biblical people were going to get, resurrected, and then they were going to be resurrected, and they were all going to live in a house, and, I was weird, But yeah, the end of the world thing, the 1975 prophecy, I've heard about that extensively from a bunch of old timers when I was younger. Though the world would end, and it didn't happen. No, they still don't talk about the year of the world. They don't say a year. They learned from that not to put a year on it. Yes, Beth Sarum. Yeah, it was in the Proclaimer's book, Beth Sarum. That was the name where Rutherford, the grand old house that he had, that they ended up selling for a lot of money. Yeah, I remember when 2002 Y2K was a big thing. Yeah, Rutherford claimed the same thing in 25. Yeah, that the world was going to end. They've claimed they got, like I said, 175 hit and it landed in their faces. They was like, no, that the world would end in 1975. I heard about the fallout about that. People talk about that. Like I said, not so much now, but I remember back in the 90s, the old timers did talk about. They whispered about it. Like you couldn't say it around elders and shit, but they would whisper. And I was like, what happened in 1975? They're like, oh, let me tell you. And then I was like, they were like, well, they erroneously, and I was like, okay, how do you erroneously predict the end of the world and you still in this organization? They were like, well, the governing body made a mistake. And the excuses that Jehovah's Witnesses use for doctrinational changes is amazing. The mental gymnastics you have to do to be a witness or to be religious is striking to me. The mental gymnastics that you have to leave is cognitive dissonance. Like the level of critical thinking skills you got to leave at the door to be a Jehovah's Witness is amazing to me. Like they will make excuses for anything. They will make excuses. They will blame everything on Satan or the devil. And they will make excuses and then they will play the victim because they feel like they're being persecuted all the damn time. Like that was a whole spiel with the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's the devil. We're being persecuted. This is slander. It's apostates. Like it's always somebody else's fault as the reason why things don't add up. But to Rutherford's credit, one man came saying he was Jacob, however he didn't fall for the bait. That's true. B1 Chrissy. I thought it was when the whole 44th thing got anointed. That's when Armageddon coming. Yeah, but guess so they backed off of that. They backed away from that. They stopped even mentioning the 144,000 and Armageddon, and then the goats. Remember the sheep and the goats? They backed away from that too, because the sheep and the goat things was a strong teaching. Like we knew as Jehovah's Witnesses that Jesus was going to come down and organize people in the sheeps and the goats. Now they've gotten away from that. In the past 4 or 5 years, they taken that out of literature, and Jehovah's Witnesses are good at editing shit. They'll go and take stuff off the website. Y'all know Toni Morris is gone. They didn't edit Toni Morris out the pictures. Toni Morris is sitting at home with a bottle of scotch right now, and he mad at Toni Morris is probably in this chat right now, man. Hey, Toni Morris, how you doing? He probably here right now seething like a motherfucker, because Toni Morris, they kicked him out, and we don't even know why. And he probably sitting around with a bottle of scotch or a Henny. And Toni Morris is mad as hell at the governing body right now. Because Toni Morris told me that motherfuckers was going to go up in a puff of smoke. And when Armageddon come, it's going to be all that smoke. All that smoke. Welcome, Toni. Welcome. Toni Morris had all that smoke for days for y'all. And then they just got rid of him, and then they went online and they digitally have edited him out the pictures. I said, Toni Morris, I don't know what he did. I don't know what happened with him, but they was like, governing body's not for you. We're going to get you a nice little condo in North Carolina or South Carolina, and then we just going to edit your ass on out of it. I said, dang, Toni Morris, they done did him dirty. I said, Anthony Morris, they done did you dirty, sir. Beth Sarah might be a hotel in San Diego. It might be. I'm going to look it up later. Toni Morris is good. He got a house. That's what I'm saying. Other Bethelites who got laid off, they got nothing. I know somebody who was a Bethelite that got laid off, and they got nothing. They were left with no education, no place to go. Some of them, their parents had died. They had no place to go. I know a Bethelite, y'all, that was homeless. Real talk. That he was sleeping on couches to couches, on elders' couches. I swear to God. Like, I know somebody that happened when they laid all them Bethelites off. That somebody was homeless and they were sleeping on couches, y'all. Like, for real, because he had no place to go. He had no money, no job, no place to go. No education, no life skill, nothing. He had no place to go. He had to start his life all over again, and he was like 35 years old. Talking about Toni Morris is good. Yeah, Toni Morris' house do come with a sweet-ass NDA, probably a highly detailed, probably 15-page NDA. I said, Toni Morris is sitting there watching these videos. Man, than a motherfucker. He like, they didn't change everything. Because I'm sure the reason why they got rid of him, in my opinion, is because they were making changes. And he probably was like, I'm not down with this. And he probably was like, I'm not down with this. And they were like, well, you just need to retire. They cut the Thursday meetings out. Yep. Yeah, it's only the Kingdom Ministry on Tuesdays and yes, on Sundays. I remember Jehovah's Witnesses meetings were like 2 hours or a little bit over that. On Sundays, the Sunday meetings would be like 2 hours. And then we would have home study at someone's house on Thursdays for about an hour. And then we had the Tuesday meetings, which were like another 2 hours. So we would go to church 3 times a week. Pony Tone. That Tony Anthony Morris is like literally gives me a giggle every time I think about the organization. You know, yeah, Tony wanted to stick to the old ways. Yeah, that's how, in my opinion, allegedly, that's how I feel. In my opinion, no proof, but I think Tony would not when like going with women wearing pants and beards, and then you got Sanderson all up on the video broadcast with a beard, looking like a Santa Claus zaddy. I said, look at Sanderson looking like a Santa Claus zaddy. Ooh wee! I said, who else is gonna show up with a beard? Stephen Lett. If Stephen Lett show up with a beard on a video, I swear to God, I will go live and I will fall on the ground and I will kick, my legs will kick up in the air like that, because I will laugh so hard if Stephen Lett has a damn beard. I swear to God, I promise you, I swear to God, if I see Stephen Lett and his turkey neck with a beard, I'm done, y'all. I'm done. Like I'm gonna fall out and I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Like if let Stephen Lett show up with a beard, I'm gonna laugh myself till I puke. Like I swear to God, Stephen looked like a Muppet from a horror film. Stephen Lett a couple of years ago, like before the pandemic, he was nice looking and he was all skinny, and then I don't know what happened. Like during the pandemic was okay, and then like 2 years ago he looked like he ate the original Stephen Lett. I said, are we sure this not a clone? Because Stephen Lett, he looked like, I said, he looked like he didn't gain some weight, brother. I'm like, brother, maybe you need to be in the gym, brother. But if I see Stephen Lett with a beard, y'all, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like my mind is gonna be gone, and I'm gonna fall on the ground, and I'm gonna laugh, and I'm just gonna be like, oh, the apocalypse is coming today. The end times are here. When I see Sanderson up there looking like Santa Claus Zaddy, I'm like, oh, hey, Santa Claus Zaddy. And then Stephen Lett show up with being another bearded Muppet Zaddy. That's it. I'm done. I'm just gonna fall on the ground and just pee myself. Like I'm just gonna, because Stephen Lett is funny. Like my kids even know my kids know who Stephen Lett is. My kids know I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. My kids know who Stephen Lett is. They make fun of the organization. They talk like Stephen Lett all the time. Like when they're telling me something, they be like, Mother, we want some food right now. Like my kids do this all the time. Like it's like inside joke in my household about me used to being a Jehovah's Witness. They ask questions like, Mommy, why would you be a witness? Why did you go to this organization? And I'd explain to them why that, I chose the Jehovah's Witness life. The Jehovah's Witness life did not choose me. I was not born into this. By the way, recap, I was not born into this religion. I chose to be a Jehovah's Witness at 13. So, yeah, my story is very unique because most witnesses I know were born into it and I was not. I chose this life. I chose at 13 not to have birthdays and holidays and Christmases, and I love Christmas. Like, anybody know me know I love Christmas, but I gave all of that up because I firmly believed that the Jehovah's Witnesses had the truth. I firmly believed that. I firmly believed. And for a long time, even after I left, I still had a favorable view of the Jehovah's Witnesses until I saw a documentary, until I went online and started talking to people about the CSA cases, and my mind was blown. I love Christmas and Halloween. Halloween's my favorite because I like to dress up. Y'all know I like to dress up for Halloween and during the rest of the year too. And in the bedroom. I'm too naughty and nasty to be a Jehovah's Witness. Like the sexual oppression is one reason why I left. Besides the field service, I hate field service. I hated field service. But the sexual oppression and field service is one reason why I left. I'm a sexually free person. So I couldn't imagine myself married to a Jehovah's Witness man. And I'm not vanilla at all. If y'all watch my other videos about me, y'all see that I do videos about me going to all kinds of sex clubs. Like, Jehovah's Witnesses when I got to be grown in my 20s, I was like, I need to go out here and explore my sexuality. And that's what I did. And then I wanted to go have a normal life. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to have a normal life. So I went out and had a normal life, a good normal life. I met my husband, had kids. So I've had a fulfilling life. You love field service? What the hell? Woo! You are rare. Most people hate field. I'm a shy person, believe it or not. So the idea of talking to strangers is frightening. It's vomiting. It was vomit inducing for me. To be 13, 14 years old, knocking on people's doors. I'm going to do a whole video about my experiences out in field service because I've had a lot of weird experiences being a 13-year-old knocking on people's doors. I was with another sister that was like 17 or 18, but it was an experience. And it was vomit inducing. I don't like people. I'm not a people person. I don't like talking to people. I don't know. It's scary. So at 13, what drew me to the Jehovah's Witnesses? I was raised in a Pentecostal church. My family is on my mom's side. On my mom's side. My dad's side, that's a whole hot mess. On my dad's side, most of them are in prison. But on my mom's side of the family, they're very religious. So on my mom's side, like I have great grandfathers that started churches. They were heavily in the Pentecostal church. My grandmother would take me to church as a kid. So I firmly believed in God at that time. So I was really interested in history and the Bible. I still love history. I still love the history of the Bible. And so we moved from Michigan to Texas. When I moved here, I didn't have any friends. I didn't have nothing. Like we moved down here and fled where we lived because the violence was so bad that my grandmother was like, we need to get out of here. So my aunt got married and moved to Texas and was like, come to Texas. And she lived in a nice suburb, which I won't name. But that was where my first congregation was at. So somebody had left watchtowers and awakes, which I love the watchtowers and awake. I don't know about y'all, but that's what I really loved about it. But they would leave them in the laundromat. And so me and my grandmother would go to do laundry and they'd leave them on the table and I read them. And I had no idea it was Jehovah's Witnesses. I just thought I saw the pictures. I love art. I'm an artist. I used to trace the pictures that were in the watchtower and awakes because I was drawn to the art. And then I liked the message and it was simple and it was easy. And again, I would read them and then on the back, it had a thing saying, if you would like to have more information or a subscription to the Watchtower Awake, cut this out and send it in and send in a donation. I sent my $5 donation and I put an envelope and a stamp on it and I sent it in. And then literally a month later, 2 sisters showed up at my door and they were like, here's a free Bible, here's some Watchtower Awakes. And I'm like, well, I didn't expect it to be physically delivered. And then my mother was like, who are these women, these strange women at the door? And then they came in and they talked to me and my grandmother and asked me if I wanted to do a Bible study. And the rest was history. And I said, yeah, sure. I like the Bible. I like God. I want to know more about God. And I wanted to study. And my grandmother's look was kind of like, was a look of like, what? And so we started to study the Bible. And then after a couple of weeks, they invited me to the first meeting, of course, of my grandmother in tow. And I love the witnesses that they were diverse. It was multicultural. It was Hispanic people, Black people, Asian people, white people in this congregation. I grew up in a Black church. I had never seen nothing like that. And I was like, this is the place for me because I believe in humanity, even at 13. And I believe that everybody is equal, even at that age. And the Jehovah's Witnesses had that message of equality because technically speaking, when I did go to the church, the Black church, when I was younger, I was little. I was between like 5 and 8 years old. And then once I got to be 10, I told my grandmother I didn't want to go to church no more. But, and then I felt like Jehovah's Witnesses had a sense of community and I was new there. I was new to Texas, new to that city. They love bombing. And so I started going to meetings and, the sister that I studied with, she was like 22. And then the older sister came with her. And I just thought it was just amazing that these women were giving me attention and they were like maternal and sisterly figures. And so, yeah, I could say my time in the Jehovah's Witnesses was not horrible. I met some really nice, kind people, and I had no idea what things were going on or lurking in my old congregation. Apparently, my congregation was full of pedophile circuit overseers and pedophile elders. I didn't know, had no idea that was what was going on in my congregation. But that's what drew me. It was the diversity. It was the simple message of the Bible. It's the ability to study the Bible. And as time went on, when I started learning about it, I couldn't celebrate holidays or birthdays. Like I kind of second thought that, but I was just like, by that time I was all the way in. And so my grandmother started studying and going to meetings with me just to keep an eye on me, apparently. I was a Jehovah's Witness for about 10 years. I was baptized and everything. I was baptized. I left for a little bit, came back in my early 20s. I was baptized. I had a Bible study at one time. And I love the study of religion, even though I don't believe in God now. But I like the study of religion. And that's one of the things that drew me to the religion as well. But they don't really do that anymore. So that's why I've been told that the study of the Bible itself is really not emphasized, but when I joined, it was highly emphasized to read the Bible daily. Like we were told to read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. I at one time I could name all of the books of the Bible in a row because I had read the Bible over and over again so many times. I read the literature over and over again so many times. I looked at that Revelation book, which now you can go back and laugh at it, but I read the Revelation book over and over. I was fascinated by all of that. Um, Anti-Monitor said they were drawn in when they were putting out all the articles showing the horrors of CSA and other religions. I lived during that time when they talked about the Catholics. I remember there was a talk on a Sunday about the evilness of Catholicism. Because, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses and Catholics, they got mad beef, yo. We did not like Catholics. And they would talk so horribly about Catholics and these other churches and Christendom. And Christendom got all these molesters and Christendom got all this. And I'm like, yes, Lord and Jesus. I am so glad I'm not a member of them false Babylon the Great, the great harlot. I'm not a part of these Christendom churches. I was so proud to say that I was not a part of these other religions that had such horrific things going on, had so much violence and CSA, that I had no idea that in my own congregation it was lurking in my own congregation. So, but yeah, that's what they would teach us. That was the mantra, that Catholics were horrible. That in their idolatry, I don't like idolatry. I still don't do idolatry to this day. As a matter of fact, to this day, I still don't do Easter. Like me and my family, we don't do Easter. I raise very secular children. We don't do crosses and Easter. And I didn't really do that. I didn't really like that before I was a witness. I didn't like the idolatry, which isn't a lot in the Pentecostal church, but I had been to Catholic church before that, and I didn't like all the crosses and the holy water and all. I didn't like none of that. And so when Jehovah's Witnesses like, we don't like that either, I was like, hot damn, you know. So yeah, Marvel's God meet. Okay, I'm sorry. We had a congregation like that in Long Island. It got so bad with all the stuff. They burned it down. Who burned down the Kingdom Hall? Wait a minute. What? The Bible studies are always good. I studied with my neighbor as a child, but didn't know it was Jehovah's Witnesses until my Baptist father told me. I didn't know it was Jehovah's Witnesses until the sisters who were studying with, they told me what it was. Cause my grandmother asked, she's like, "And what religion is this?" Like, my grandmother's like, "What religion is this?" So I didn't know what it was. Anti-Monitor said the Catholic and the priest turned out to be a serial. Oh boy. Oh my God. Yeah. And so when all that stuff came out with the Catholic Church, we were heavily proud that like none of this stuff goes on, you know. But then again, being a teenager as a Jehovah's Witness, it's hard. Like it was tough for me being a teenager. I think Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of the ones who were born into it, kind of take it for granted that they have families and brothers and sisters and parents. Imagine me being 13, 14 years old and I have no family to support me. I have no one in the Jehovah's. My grandmother's going to meetings, but she didn't believe in that shit. So just imagine me being 13, 14 years old, sticking out like a sore thumb, because people would look around and be like, because sometimes I go to the Kingdom Hall with just the sisters who brought me, and they're like, "Where's your family at?" Da, da, da. And then I had to explain to people like, you know, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Nobody else in my family is a witness, and not having the familiar support that a lot of witnesses who are born into it. They have parents and kids, and they go to a home that's Jehovah's Witness centric, and they have aunts and uncles and cousins. I had none of that. So it was very isolating, and it was very hard for me to be a witness. It was tough. I used to pray every day. I used to cry and pray because I had no friends at school. I had no friends in the Kingdom Hall. At home, I had my grandmother to talk to. I don't have any brothers or sisters that I was raised with, so I'm my mother's only child. So I was raised by my grandmother. But I had no cousins, no aunts, no uncles, nobody to tell them, to relate to them about the things that I was struggling with as a witness, because they're all not witnesses. So it would go over their head. They didn't really understand. So for me, it was very isolating being a witness. It was very hard. It was so hard. It was one of the hardest things mentally I've ever gone through. And especially as a 13, 14-year-old, I should have never went through that. You know, it's hard enough being a Jehovah's Witness, period. But to be a 13-year-old girl, being a witness with no family and no friends, oh my God, like y'all don't even know, that's a special hell. It was hell. I tell people it was tough. It was surprised that I stuck with it as long as I did, because again, in my congregations, I've been to 3 or 4 different congregations because we moved. I was such the anomaly. like people would feel sorry for me. They're like, I feel so bad for you. You don't have any family in the truth. And so, like I said, I did have a few people take me under their wing because they felt bad for me, because they felt like I was out here on my own trying to serve the truth and serve Jehovah on my own. But really, I just found as time went on that the Jehovah's Witnesses, they didn't have an environment that was very conducive and welcoming to that type of experience. That to convert into this religion, that this religion itself don't give you support like other churches do in Christendom. So other churches, they have youth groups and they have stuff like that. None of that exists as a Jehovah's Witness. There's no youth groups. There's no youth ministry. There's no, like, we didn't have a lot of gatherings at the congregation that I went to. So we didn't have like a big social circle. The congregation I went to, there was not a lot of people that were my age. There were young ones, and then there were people in their 20s and 30s. There was not a lot of teenagers. There was like maybe 2 or 3 that were like young teens in my congregation. And then we all went to different schools. So we were in the same congregation, but we went to different schools. So it's not like I had any Jehovah's Witnesses friends. So I would go to school and have no friends. Go to the Kingdom Hall. I had no friends my age. I had nobody. I was trying to fight this fight by myself. And then Jehovah's Witness, the way the culture is, it should never be like that. You should have youth groups and a youth circle and a youth ministry. I feel like that's the biggest thing that's missing, besides a bunch of other things, that I find that is horrible for the youth to stay in the church, because they really don't have a social outlet or that strong social foundation to be a Jehovah's Witness. Like, you just left up to the devices of your family. And then what if your family's not very strong in the truth? So then you really don't have any support socially in this organization. I never agreed with the disfellowship. I didn't either. It never felt natural, loving, or right. It sure don't. And people back in the day got disfellowshipped over sneezing wrong. You'd be like, oh, you watching porn? Disfellowship. Oh, you expressed you didn't like a certain doctrine? Disfellowship. Like, I mean, they were back in the 90s. They were disfellowshipping people left and right, y'all. Except for CSA apparently. But anything else, you would be gone up out of there. You didn't have not a lick of chance to change anything. You would just be disfellowshipped. Any mistake, and we're human beings, so we all make mistakes. But there was no forgiveness. I said, this is not loving or forgiving. Like, I didn't see really good people get kicked out of the organization, and it devastated their families. It devastated them. It caused divisions in their household. Like, I didn't see people get disfellowship and it ruined their entire lives. And over nothing that really was that serious. The Collab and Sophia videos, child, don't even get me started on that heresy. Showing them with no friends should shake the parents. It's very abusive. They ain't got no friends. They ain't got no family. And then what if you're an only child and you ain't got child? That's psychologically damaging to a child. To grow up in a hostile environment, it's already you're picked on because you don't do birthdays and holidays and, Christmases, and people are already looking at you like you're a weirdo. But to be in that situation, and you're a child, and you expect your kid to be like, well, keep up a stiff upper lip. You got it. Watch this video. That's not good enough. Jehovah's Witnesses create a social environment for these kids. Create play dates in a youth ministry, in a youth group, by age groups, 5 to 10. This group, 10 to 14, 15. They'll be in another group. 16 on up. Y'all be 16 to 21. Y'all be in another group. Why would you make it so difficult for a person to make friends and to have a positive social experience in this organization? When you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're a young person, you need other friends that are Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't care if the friend doesn't even live in your congregation. They live in another state, another country. Provide and facilitate a way for young people to socialize with other young people in the quote unquote truth. That would go a long way to keep young people from feeling isolated or going crazy. I mean, it's isolating. Who wants to be in a religion where you can't have friends? Who wants to be in a religion where you don't have friends? Who wants to live? We're human beings. We're not meant to live like that. That's not what human beings do. It's cruel. So you have so many youth worldwide, nationwide, statewide. Start making social groups. And you talk about Jehovah's Witnesses. We couldn't hang out with nobody that wasn't a witness. That's the thing. You can't be unevenly yoked. You can't associate with non-believers. But then you're not doing anything to where you are socializing with believers. Why would you not make that a thing? Like we don't want them to be worldly. We don't want them to hang around worldly kids because you might get disfellowship for that. Fuck. But we don't want you to hang around other witness kids either. Like we're not going to make that happen like other churches do. Provide a social environment for Jehovah's Witnesses that's positive. Friendship was formed during field service. You may get when I would go on field service, I went out with field service with people that were older than me. There was not a lot of people my age in my congregation. There was just not. I would go out field service. I'm 13, 14 years old going on field service with people in their 20s. The people in their 20s would have gatherings at their house that I was never invited to because I'm a kid. I was 13, 14 years old. These 17, 18-year-olds didn't want to hang around a 14-year-old kid. Like, they was like, okay, we're not inviting her. And it wasn't nothing against them. I'm not mad at them. But yes, I remember when I was 18, 19 years old, I wasn't hanging around 13, 14-year-olds. If we had a gathering with 18, 19-year-olds, that's who's going to be there. We're not going to have a gathering with children. Like, I was a kid. That 20-year-olds didn't want to hang around with. I'm a kid. Who wants to hang around a 13-year-old? Like at 20, they was out living their lives. They had jobs and career. They was out living their life. And here I was, this 13, 14-year-old, and they're like, okay, like we cool with you, and we take out in field service, but we weren't hanging out socially. I was on a whole nother level. I was just a kid. And they're like, I don't want to hang out with no kid. And then also another thing, yes, kids at had cliques. I moved to another congregation in a part of Dallas, and they had cliques. Like they were raised in the truth. They looked at me like I was an outsider. I was never on the inside of these cliques, ever. Even when I moved to another congregation where there was kids, by that time I was 16. And I was on my way getting ready to leave because I'd had enough. I'd had 3 years of, my first congregation I went to, I liked it. It was friendly. It was cool. The second congregation I went to was okay. By the time we moved to Dallas, North Dallas, the congregation I went to, there was a bigger congregation, but there were a lot of cliques, and all these cliques knew each other because their families were all in the truth. So it was like the elders' kids. They had like a little clique. I was an outsider. I came from another area. I moved in a congregation. I was 16. I was shy. I was quiet. They didn't want to fuck with me at all. They didn't want to have nothing to do with me. And even though we went to the same school, they would not hang around me. They was like, we ain't hanging around you. And I'm like, why? Like, I never understood why I was always on the outside looking in, because my family wasn't witnesses. So it was kind of like I was all the outsider. Yeah, anti-monitor says sounds like that, like it's like design. Yeah, because why wouldn't you make it a better environment for the youth? You know what I'm saying? Why would you not focus your time on making it a better social environment, not just for the youth, for the older people as well? There should be organizations. Why can't they have a Bible book club? Why am I thinking of these damn ideas? Why don't they have a Bible book club for the sisters? I'm always like, get a sister something to do. They said, Rack said, I might sound cold, but I didn't care to know the Jews because to me they were boring. Some of them still are. Yeah, some of them were boring, yes. But I was just so starved to have somebody that I could talk to about the truth and about the things that I was going through, not celebrating holidays, trying to live a godly life. Being 16 years old is tough. And so there's temptations. There's all kinds of things. Y'all know, y'all been 16. There's a lot of things going on. It's tough being a teenager, Jehovah's Witness. And so the idea that I moved to a congregation in Dallas and thinking this is going to be better. And then I get there and then the kids were just like, oh, hey. And they would see me at school and they would just turn their head and not even acknowledge me. And I'm just like, I just saw you at the Kingdom Hall yesterday. It's Monday. I just saw you at the Kingdom Hall. You sat in front of me. And then we go in school and pass each other in the hallway. And I'm like, oh, hey. And then they would just turn their head like, oh, I don't know her. I'm like, oh, wow. And so I just kind of got this attitude like, like these kids in the Kingdom Hall, they don't want to talk to me. But I had friends. I had people outside of the religion who really wanted to be my friend, who was like, let's go hang out. Let's go do things. And I had to turn them down. So here I am with these kids who don't even acknowledge me in the hallways at school. They don't talk to me. They don't acknowledge me. They don't say nothing. But then I have these kids who are not witnesses who really want to be my friend, who invited me to go places and come over to their houses. And so eventually that's where I went. I wanted to have friends. So I started hanging out with more worldly people. And the more time I spent with the worldly people, the less time I was at the congregation. And eventually I just quit and stopped, and I went to go hang out with them. And then I got some wild ass friends who were in a gang, and I joined a gang, and all that stuff happened when I was 16. So I was hanging out with older friends, not in school, and then I joined a gang, and I became a gang member, and I got tattoos, and I was a gang member for a while. So, and then when I hit about, I was done with that. By the time I hit about 20, I was like, I really need to get my life together. And so I hit 20 and I stopped the gang shit. I started trying to get my life together. And I ended up going back to the organization and stayed in the organization for another 4 to 5 years. So, that's how it went. But then my second time, I was still was like, this is not for me. So, he said the other kids would look at me funny because I wasn't allowed to pledge allegiance. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to pledge allegiance. Well, I was down with that. Anybody try to ask me a question, I'll be like, wait a minute, I'll get in your face. Look, I'm not pledging allegiance to that flag. I do it now. Like, that's still stuck with me. Yeah, when it was Russell's time, there was more adults. It started out as the Bible students. And these were all adults. Back in the day, it was just adults trying to find Bible truth, searching for God. It was a group of adults. And then as time went on, when people got into the religion and started having children, and Rutherford took over and everything like that, it was still a religion that is very much meant for adults. It's still, even to this day, an organization that caters to adults. And then the dating system in the witness is wackadoodle. Like how you can't, you can't really date around. You have to date for marriage. And then, like, that's crazy. I'm like, this nuts. You have to date for marriage and all that. And so they need to update their stance on dating and all that stuff. Like, you can't just date a person. You have to date because I'm ready for marriage. And then I had people in the congregation getting married at 17, 18, 19 years old. And I'm like, okay, I know damn well they're not ready to get married. They just ready to have sex. So, I just, the culture of it is just, to me, not a friendly, welcoming environment socially. And it just causes people to be mentally wore out. By the time I left the witnesses when I was 24, I was mentally wore out. Like, I just had enough. I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I tried again and I just couldn't do it. Like, I'd got a taste of the world out there. So I knew what, I didn't want to do the gang thing. I was like, no, that was too much. But I didn't want to be a witness either. And I decided to forge my own path. I was like, I don't need the gang and I don't need a cult. I just need me. And I realized I needed me. Like, I need to find my own way. And I need to do my own thing and concentrate on my own mental health and concentrate on what I need to do for myself. That I can't get wrapped up into following people or being a part of a group think or feeling like I want to belong to something so bad to where I lose myself. And when I was in a gang, I lost myself. And when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I lost myself. And so I just left that alone and realized that, I have to find me first. And then once I found me and realized that I'm good with myself, that I'm enough and I'm good. And then I went on to the path of education and I learned to be around different groups of people and learn different perspective and volunteer and do certain things in my life that I never look back. Because I'm like, I'm good with me now. I'm good. I'm real good with me now. Like, I have a good sense of who I am. And I don't need to follow anybody or anything. And I don't need to be led down a road where I'm doing things that I find questionable morality, things that clash with my morality and my beliefs. I don't want to do that. And I don't want to be controlled, because being in a gang is about control as well. So I went from one gang to another. I tell people this all the time. I went from, being in a high control Christian cult gang to, okay, now I'm a blood and I got to hate these other people and I got to do this and I got to do that. And, and the whole culture of violence that comes around with hanging around gang members and thieves and criminals. And, I don't know which one was worse. I don't know whether the Jehovah's Witnesses or the gang members. I don't know which one's worse, y'all. But either way, those are pivotal moments in my life that I saw the world in a different way. And then I realized what I didn't want. And I didn't want near one of those. I don't want to be in a cult and I don't want to be in a gang, which is almost the same thing. I don't do groupthink very well. I'm just like, I'm a contrarian by nature. My whole nature is like, I don't like that. Or why are we doing it? I question too much. Jehovah's Witnesses, I used to question everything. That last 4 years I was with them. I was like, why are we doing, I mean, I did get baptized, but I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Why? I questioned everything. That wasn't biblical. And I'm just like, do we have to do this? Do we have to go out and field service? Where does it really say we have to go out and field service? And why do we have to, I started questioning everything and then people didn't like it. And so I was like, I got to get the hell up out of here. Yeah, you can't have blood transfusions. I questioned that. Like I just questioned everything, you know? Like, yeah, I had people trying to tell me what's best for me or what I should be doing. And I was just like, yeah, and like Raktha said, I felt more myself with classmates and coworkers than in the congregation. I did. I felt like when I went to a congregation that I had to put on this different mask and persona, that I had to pretend and act and say things that wasn't really me. That once I left the congregation and I was at home, then I was the real me. And when I was at school and college, I was the real me. But I just felt like when I was at the congregation, I had to be very stunted and drawn in, and I couldn't voice my opinions. And I'll never be in a situation or be with, same thing I do in my relationships. I will never be with a man where I feel like I can't voice my opinions. I can't be myself. I can't do that. Some people, that's okay for them. That's why I have a hard time finding relationships. Even I was married for 8 years. I met a really great guy that was okay with me being me. And I can be a lot. Like I can be a very intense person. Like I believe in certain things. I do a lot. Politically, especially when I met my husband, I was out there protesting and I was out there working for Muslim organizations and I was protesting against the Iraq war. I've lived a lot of life. And so when my husband met me, he wasn't really into all of that, but he was like, I'm going to support you. And just, ran and raged about George W. Bush. I was always ranting and raving about something. I was angry about something. I was angry about injustice and humanity and why are people dying around the world? Like, I'm that kind of person. And so I had a husband that just kind of like had to reel me in a little bit and be like, baby, it's going to be okay. Like I had that kind of husband. And now since I've had children and I'm in my later age, I've mellowed a little bit, but I still kind of have that spirit because I really do care about people. Like I care about people too much. I care about animals and people and kids too much. I had a horrible childhood. Like I had a childhood where I was one of those kids that were neglected. I had a childhood where my parents had me at 17 years old and they couldn't take care of me and my grandmother had to step in and save me. So I feel strongly about kids being neglected and abused. It's something I feel deeply about. I was never abused, but I was definitely neglected. I don't remember it, but people have told me about things that have happened that where I was left at as a kid. Like I was being babysit by prostitutes and all kinds of stuff. I was in a trap house somewhere in Detroit being babysat by prostitutes when I was a baby. So my grandmother put things to motion and actively went and got me out of that situation to save my life. And she saved my life. Many times my grandmother has saved my life. My grandma's my hero. And so may she rest in peace. But I feel like, my life has been fighting things. And I get mellow in my old age, but I still have some of that spirit. And it's just hard for me to be with a man who feels like they want to put a clamp on that or they don't understand it or they dismiss it. And I don't like that. And so it's hard for me to really find a true equal partner as well. Being single woman, we're off topic, but I don't want anybody to tell me who I am or who I should be, whether it be religion, whether it be a group, whether it be friends. I've jumped friends who have tried to tell me who I should be or what I shouldn't be doing or how I should be grieving or how I should be doing certain things. I don't need that from a person either. I don't need that from nobody. I just need you to let me be me. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you love it, you love it. Either way. Because like I said, the type of person I am, I let my friends be who they want to be. If you're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. If you got my back, I got your back. Always. I have friends that tell me more things that they didn't tell their entire families, and I keep their secrets because they feel like they can trust me. And I always want to be good to the people that are good to me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm loyal. I'm loyal to a fault. That's one of my faults is loyalty. And, I just feel like being a witness, it was a lot of people gossiping about behind people's backs. It was a lot of people being nice to people's face at the Kingdom Hall. But then like once you get them alone, they be like, oh, I don't like that person. I don't like that sister. I don't like that brother. And I'm just like, what kind of bullshit is this? It was very preachy. It was very gossipy. That's why I got off of Reddit. I'm finna get off this live in a minute, but I tell you, I was in the XJW Reddit sites a couple of years ago heavy. But I get to the point where I got annoyed with the people on Reddit because it was not a welcoming environment. Like the people would do the same things they did while in the cult, outside of the cult. It was judgmental people. It was pettiness. It was gossipy. And I'm like, y'all still ain't left this shit behind. So I just had to tell the people, go with God and move on. Because I had to save myself. Because a lot of times I want to go on Reddit and cuss people out. But I realized that everybody's not on the same journey and we're at different levels. Because I've been out the organization for so long, my mindset is different than somebody who just left the organization a year or two ago. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So I have to like learn to give grace to people and live and let live. But I've clashed with plenty of people on Reddit because I don't like the busybody gossipiness of XJWs. And a lot of them still have that in them where they have this sense of superiority that I didn't like in the cult. Like the cult always had hierarchy, and the ministerial wives and the elder wives thought they were better than everybody else. And so you still have some of that in the XJW community that I don't like. You still have people who are judgmental. You still have people who are like, I don't approve of this. You don't have to approve of shit. Like, I'm not here to approve of somebody's life or their lifestyle choice. Like, you have people that still have that mindset and that mentality, even though they're out of the religion. And so it's a cult mindset that still follows them, you know, and I don't like that. You know, I don't like that at all. So I've clashed heavily with the XJW community. I love y'all because y'all come strong for my videos, but I've clashed because I'm like, my attitude is live as let live. You know, I'm just like, well, if that's what they want to do, you know, they didn't change. Yes. Some have a hard time leaving when they were around it for so long. They do. And they have a hard time giving up that mentality. They have a hard time giving up that mentality. And I'll be trying to lead them to the promised land, y'all. I'll just be like, well, look at it this way. What about this? And what about, and they don't want to hear that. They're like, no, this person shouldn't be doing such. I'm like, how you going to tell somebody what they should or shouldn't be doing? I mean, that's just something illegal or they hurting somebody. But there are all kind of XJWs that have all kinds of lifestyles. I've seen all kinds of XJWs doing all kinds of things. There's some that have come out gay. There's some that have come out doing witchcraft. There's some that are atheists. And people will get on my videos and be like, well, you're an atheist and da-da-da. Well, how's that hurting you? Okay, well, if you don't want to be an atheist, I'm not asking y'all to convert to atheism. I've never once said that in my videos, that everybody need to be atheist. I said, that's just me. How's that hurting you? It's not. I watch videos of people who are very dedicated to Christ and religion, and it's beautiful, y'all. Y'all religious people who are really about God and about religion and about truth and about Jesus and about love. I admire y'all. Y'all are really in it. Y'all are really in it for the good reasons. And I admire that. And I always try to support XJWs and subscribe to their channels and give them encouragement. Even though what they're saying, I may not necessarily agree with it, but I'm supportive because I want them to succeed. But the idea that people come on my videos and I'm like, what are you talking about? That's my choices. I'm not saying that everybody need to do what they doing. I'm just chronicling my journey and my story. That's all I'm doing. I'm not telling people what they need to leave the organization. I understand some of y'all are like the hell with this organization. I'm not telling people to leave. I'm not telling people to stay. I'm saying do what is best for you. I just can point out the things that I feel like and why I left and why I don't like the organization. But if you like it, hey, I'm not telling nobody to leave. If they want to stay, they want to stay. I understand. And then I had XJWs get on me because I'm like, I understand PMOs. Like, I come and defend PMOs all the time. They were like, they should leave. And I can't believe you want to stay. And I'm like, if my kids and my family were in this organization and I knew I was going to lose my children, I would never leave. And people get mad because I say that. And I'm like, but it's the truth. You think I'm going to leave my children? I love my children. My children is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So if I knew I'd leave a religion and then my kids are never going to talk to me ever again, I would sit up in that meeting and be like, onward Christian soldier, like a motherfucker. I'd be like, make the truth your own. Like I would be a PMO all day, y'all. I would never lose my children over nothing. Like if I got to sit in a Kingdom Hall twice a week or on a Zoom call and pretend that I believe this shit the truth for my kids, I'll do it. And some people, some XJWs don't want to hear that, but everybody's path is their own. So some people, they believe in their heart of hearts this is not the truth. And so they have lost everything. They've lost their family, their friends, their everything. That's a burden that they have to bear themselves. But I'm not telling everybody to do that because I understand that I'd be a hypocrite to sit up here and tell y'all that if I was in some of y'all situations that I wouldn't be a PMO. I would be a PMO all day. I would not lose my family to this. I would be a PMO. I would sit up there. I love my kids. So that's being a good parent. Yeah, I love my kids. I wouldn't lose my kid. And then I know people lost their kids, their grandkids, their parents, or brothers and sisters. I couldn't sacrifice that. The people who have done that, y'all are brave. Y'all are so brave, and I admire y'all. But that couldn't be me. I'm not that brave, y'all. I'm not a superhero. I'm not that brave. I couldn't lose my parents and my kids and my grandkids. If I left the religion, I would just stay in. So, that's my opinion. And some people don't like it. Some people don't want to hear that because they hate PMOs. They hate y'all PMOs. Some of y'all PMOs watching this now, I don't hate y'all. I celebrate y'all. If that's the path that you got to take in order to save yourself and your sanity, then you go ahead and be a PMO. You will never get no hate out of any primo. Physically in, mentally out, physically out, mentally in. Pony, if you pony, I'll support you too. Maybe y'all out of the organization, y'all thinking about going back since you can wear slacks now. Hey girl, you go wear them slacks. I'm not mad at you if you want to go back. I'm not mad at none of y'all. But so that's why I said everybody has to choose their own path and do you. But when it comes to things that are illegal, I draw the line at that, and I don't support that in this organization at all. Yeah, PMOs deserve much, but they get nothing but love and respect from me. Y'all are brave. Y'all are the foot soldiers of the XJW community, because y'all are in these videos looking anonymously, and y'all are always reading stuff. And the idea that you have to go and face this, I couldn't. Y'all are brave. Y'all are brave souls. But that's all I got to say today. I have to get to pick up my medicine. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. But I enjoyed talking to everybody. Thank you, everybody's been here. My phone is about to die, y'all. So I thank everybody that's been here, and make sure you like, comment, and thumbs up the video, and subscribe. I will be back to do more Jehovah's. Like I said, I'm going to do the video about the anointed sister. I swear to God, I'm going to do a whole video about the anointed sister and the things that she told me and how she knew she was anointed and all that. But anyway, y'all have a great Friday. You have a great weekend. Check out my JW playlist. If you have not seen the video about the overseer that flashed himself and showed his nakedness and jacking off, if you ain't seen that, go look at my JW playlist. Thank you. Y'all have a good day. Bye.